kind of fitting which teams are playing. Both at 2-7, both have seen quite a storm. They're hoping it is blown over the way their season has started halfway through it. And Wayne, for the Ticats, who've lost 2 straight coming into this one, it has led to changes, namely at quarterback. It is Taylor Powell going forward.
Yeah, revolving quarterbacks everywhere these days, but in Hamilton, their struggles finally led to this change. Couple series in last game, Taylor Powell took over, ran the offense very well, put up good numbers, took care of the football. He gets his first start of 2024 here today. And of course, we know the storyline in Edmonton. Trey Ford had started the last couple games, first 2 wins of the season for the Edmonton Elks. He got injured last game. McLeod Bethel Thompson finished up, leading the Elks to that win. He gets to start today with Ford on the injured list.
Darius Jackson, 2-2 as the Elks head coach, and taking over for Chris Jones. In his final year as a player, his head coach was Scott Milanovic in Toronto. And it's Milanovic's first year on the sideline with the Ticats. It's been a rough one so far, as mentioned. An 0-5 start. They won a couple, including in Edmonton, and then they dropped 2 games, most recently to the Montreal Alouettes. It was Edmonton winning the toss. They deferred, so Boris Beatty will kick it off to get this underway in Hamilton. Week 11 and the second meeting of the season between the Ticats and the Elks. Tim White on the return duties. Smoke Harris is placed on the injured list, so it could be a busy night for Tim White. And here comes Taylor Powell, and some good numbers coming off the bench in the loss in Montreal last week.
Yeah, Taylor Powell. There you see those terrific numbers, 52 rushing yards, didn't hurt it. It's all about decision making for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Taylor Powell doing a good job getting the ball to the right people, check downs when that's what's given, running with the ball when that's your best option.
With the injuries at quarterback last year, Powell started half the season. First start this season, completes it 2. Luther Akunavanu, it is coughed up right into the hands of Darius Bratton before Akunavanu could come down. And a turnover right away as Akunavanu remains down. Last week, the Ticats had a disastrous start. You mentioned deja vu and a turnover when ball security has meant so much to Scott Milanovic right here in the first play.
Yeah, good completion out of the gate as Powell finds Hakunavanu on the crosser, but he takes a shot. You saw his head and neck really get whipped back there on the tackle, causing him to lose that football. And
of far greater concern, of course, than anything on the field in terms of the game is the health of Luther Hakunavanu. You see the way he was hit and the arm coming in, Niles Morgan, but the head twisting around, and he remains on the field with players in both teams taking a knee as he gets attention. And they are bringing an ambulance out on the field.
You can see his neck kind of whipped around awkwardly there as he was contacted from both sides.
Concern on both sides for Luther Hakunavanu, the Hamilton Tiger Cats receiver. Saw how violently his body had twisted as he went down, and just stunned silence here at Tim Hortons Field on what was the first play of the game. An ambulance on the field for Tiger Cats receiver Luther Hakunavanu as they get a stretcher off the ambulance. We'll take a break and be back in Hamilton in a moment. Back here at Tim Hortons Field in Hamilton, and such a troubling sight right at the start of the game. Ticats receiver Luther Hakunavanu on the opening play from scrimmage caught a pass and his head twisted violently. We had showed the replay before, but see the looks of Bo Levi Mitchell, and as I say, players from both sides, as he is still remains down, an ambulance out on the field. And that's where all the thoughts and concerns are for all of us right now.
Yeah, there is such an element of fraternity throughout the league. This isn't about Edmonton versus Hamilton. This is guys who understand the risk that each other take week after week, and quite frankly concerned for one of their brothers, even if he's wearing a different colored jersey. Luther, an Edmonton native, played his high school ball at Bishop McNally. Also spent some time in junior football with the Edmonton Wildcats.
So ties to that city, as you say, and was drafted by the Calgary Stampeders out of York University. He's in his fourth season, his first season with the Ticats, and had really been becoming a big part of this Tiger Cat team, this offense. A touchdown last week in Montreal, but
yeah, 4 touchdowns in his last 5 games for Hakunavanhu.
But stunned silence now, have seen some mobility with his legs. And here's hoping as they take every precaution. It's Harrison Frost, the third-string quarterback with the Ticats, among the men. He's still just out on the field. Edmonton players as well. And a very quiet, understandably, building here at Tim Hortons Field. And this is the very beginning of the game. They had the kickoff that was on the opening play, and regardless of when it is, of course, the only concern right now is Luther Hakunavanhu. But these players in a few moments have to begin playing again, and which must be such a difficult thing, a physical, sometimes violent game. And
yeah, it's a challenge. Certainly, I remember that you get in these situations, and so often in a game like football with the degree of physical contact, the risk is always there, but you don't think about it. Moments like this, as players, kind of remind you, you're reminded that you are not invincible, and it can be obviously a very sobering moment, as you can see. But the challenge for both teams is, after this very serious reminder, is getting back into game mode.
You saw Scott Mitchell earlier up in the booth of the Ticats, looking down, and teammates, most of the Ticats still remaining on the field and close by, as the medical staff taking, of course, every precaution before moving Luther Hakunavanhu onto a stretcher. Mentioned that there had been, it's good to see movement, of course, in his upper body, his arms, and there had been movement in his lower extremities as well, as a good sign, as they're going to put him on the stretcher. A new Ticat this year in 2024, former Calgary Stampeder Luther Hakunavanhu.
Yeah, 4th year in the Canadian Football League, as you mentioned, drafted by Calgary, signed in free agency this year as the Cats look to get a little bigger in that receiving corps.
And some applause in what for several moments had been absolute silence here at Tim Hortons Field, as he is on the stretcher now, and to be taken off, and a standing ovation from fans here. And you see Niles Morgan coming in, involved in that tackle on Hakunavanhu, and coming in, Morgan down and speaking to Hakunavanhu now. It's a thing too in a game like this, Dwayne. the difficulty for players involved in the tackle as well in the game of football to see something like this happen. As we say, we see Niles Morgan go over. There's a few of the Elks players.
Yeah, and understood, right? There's the accepted level of risk that both sides take. Certainly, yeah, you see Niles Morgan, absolutely no ill will. A lot of big, strong, fast-moving bodies out there at the same time, sometimes pushing in different directions.
If you're just joining us, it is Hamilton receiver Luther Hakunuvanu, who was injured on a tackle in the first play from scrimmage in this game between the Elks and the Tiger Cats, and the medical staff, paramedics on, an ambulance coming on the field to make sure all precautions are taken as he'll taken off to hospital, is put in the ambulance now. And as said, must be the toughest part for both teams to suddenly have to play a football game again.
Yeah, kind of put your game face back on. And it's not an easy thing. Nor should it be.
No. The ambulance remains on the field. Luther Hakunuvanu is in that ambulance to be taken off to hospital now, but a delay here. There has been a substantial delay and will be some more as well. And we will be back when play does resume. We're not sure when. Let's send it back to Kate Burness in the studio. Kate.
All right, Rod, as we said, we will get you back to Tim Hortons Field as soon as play resumes in this game. But obviously, this is one of the worst ways to start a game. And you know what? We have fun and we talk about football and we see these great games. But then when it's humanized on this level, it just makes your heart drop, Maddie. And I asked you guys, I turned and I go, how do you even continue a game after this, Matt? When you see one of your brothers, one of your teammates go down like this, it's gut-wrenching.
Yeah, it is. Been involved with that several times going back. James Bell, still affected today, but he's dealing with his the residual effects of the game. And you heard Dwayne say it. It's part of the game. You sign up for it. You know that it's very, very dangerous. You're not putting your life in danger, you know, like those people that serve our countries. But at the end of the day, it's the most physical game out there. It's a collision sport for a reason. And sometimes that happens, and it's very difficult to move forward. But it takes a few minutes. You really have to check yourself and get back in the moment, because it's startling when it does happen. And you can see the appreciation. And I think for the fans, sometimes, you know, it's all about the W's and L's. And but, you know, you realize that these people have families. And their careers are on the line. They got responsibilities. And that's altered right now. And you got to really wrap your head around the moment and get refocused, because it's difficult.
The two things, the first thing everybody thinks about, and our thoughts, obviously, prayers with Luther, is, you know, you think about your health moving forward off the football. That's the first thing everyone goes to, is, you know, what happens in that regard. And then the next thing you move to is your livelihood, because that's all a lot of these guys are at a point where that's what they're doing. This is their livelihood. And so now you go to that. I've been in that situation where an injury happens and you talk to the team doctors, and the first thing that they discuss with you is, you know, you hopefully will be able to come back from this at some point in time. And that hits you, that jolts you, that conversation about, will I ever be able to do this again? And that's not saying this is for Luther. Let's just say, and this is a good part of what we see here, is that everything is precaution nowadays. You know, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, they just would have picked him up and Luther might have walked off the field. And that, hopefully, he could have done that, but precautionary reasons and how we move forward with this, they're making everything, you know, taking the best action they can. But yeah, this is kind of the levels and the levels of thought that go into it as a player out there right now.
Yeah. Well, we're praying and hoping that the duration of the procedure is more precautionary than anything, and we're glad that that's the case, that they're taking their time and being precautionary about everything. But at the same time, being a part of something like this before, the tough part, the challenge is getting back into the game now,
exactly.
right? And rallying the troops. You got to have leaders on the team that can literally get the guys back to focus on the situation, on the game at hand right now, knowing that, hey, look, let's play for our brother. Right, let's play for our brother, and you got to have those leaders intact and in place in order to be able to do that and get back and play. We always talk about it, right? And we saw Jeremiah Masoli coming back from some tough injuries in the last couple of years, and he was able to play. And I said it too during that game. I said, look, it's a physical game, but it is more mental than physical, if anything, because you got to now get back to playing football. Remember your job, your how you're going to execute your job, and that's the challenging part as well.
I believe in when I've been a part of these situations, I believe it changes the physicality of a game. You can't help it. The natural conversations, Enoch, to your point, the conversations are, we have to try to find a way to get back out in the field or find a way to the leaders leading and get back and one play at a time and play for your brother. The reality also is that, you're now watching this and you can't help but to think what just happened 10 minutes ago, 15 minutes ago. Even though as an athlete we want to, we like to compartmentalize things and move forward. You can in different circumstances. When it comes to the health and something you just see impact you so recently, it's tough to move on and play the same style that you just entered the game with.
And we're talking about the durations, Armand. We're talking about the duration of this whole procedure as we see the guys going back into the locker rooms. Now, look, we're getting back into play. Now we got to warm up again because, look, we don't want to have more injuries, right? And so everything has to be detailed, and we talk about warming up. We don't want to add to what has already happened.
Enoch, I've always been on the receiving end of most of those blows on the offense. We saw Niles Morgan go out there and one of the first men to make sure and to pass his respects on to Luther. You're on the delivery end.
That's right.
You're on the delivery end.
Yeah.
Have you ever been in a situation like that where you've delivered a blow and a guy's been down and injured and speak to that, because I'm always on the receiving end, being the one that's carted off.
Well, let me be real. The linebackers in Edmonton right now, they're playing the way that they're supposed to play, the way that they're taught to play. Yeah. Obviously, you never want to play to injure anybody, and I've been on the side, on the delivering end, where you want to hit guys hard. You want them to feel it, but never to the extent where you see someone go down or you see the ambulance come on and the stretchers and whatnot. So you do want to hit them. You want to hit them hard. You want them to feel it, but you don't want to cross that line. So you never want to see that.
And you saw Morgan go over, too.
Yeah.
I mean, you could only imagine at that point in time reflecting. I mean, everyone's kneeling on the ground, too. You're looking at him. And we did see him move his arms, too, which was great. By the way, there'll be at least a 15-minute delay if you were currently tuning in. First play of the game, Luther Hawknubano hit very awkwardly, taken off on a stretcher. But we will get you back to Tim Hortons Field when this play resumes. But it's true, Davis. I mean, making the hit, too. I mean, that's got to be impactful, too, when you see the guy on offense all of a sudden not moving.
Yeah, all of our thoughts right away go with Luther.
Yeah.
But also, guys are also sympathetic, understanding to the guy delivering the blow, because how you feel naturally, you feel bad, and guys automatically go to
that's what I was
the guy
asking.
Delivers blow. Absolutely.
Take me there. Take me there. It's like, what is Morgan going through right now?
Every guy on that field understands that nobody's trying to hurt anyone. So there's no, you feel the way you feel bad when someone gets hurt, whether it's, you hit someone in the leg and they tear their knee up, you feel bad. Whether you hit them in the head and they get knocked out. But across the board, professionals, everyone understands what it is, and I think there's no one ever feels the way towards the guy that did it. Right?
Yeah, and real quickly here, the game has changed where you can reach out to players and speak to opponents on a regular basis. Right. And when I played, it was like you may never see the guy again, right? Yeah. His career could be over, and sorry, But now there's a lot more compassion, empathy, and ability to communicate, which I think is a good thing.
Good point.
Yeah.
And both these teams back in the locker room. I can only imagine right now in the Hamilton Tiger Cats locker room how they're not looking at each other and saying, let's win this one for Luther.
Sure.
We'll have much more coming up right after this. Welcome back to the CFL on TSN. Some concerned fans still in Hamilton now as they just watched Luther Hakanuvano be transported off the field in an ambulance. He took a massive hit the very first play of the game, and we are currently in a bit of a delay because they are waiting for a second ambulance to arrive at Tim Hortons Field, and as soon as that happens, play will resume. But right now, both of these teams back in the locker room as we wait for play to get back and going. And Matt, we were discussing this during the commercial break, and you were saying right now what these teams are going through as they're waiting to get back on. I mean, it must be a little surreal, almost like a weather delay with a lot more of emotion to it, obviously. But now after going through warm-up, starting the game, then being taken out immediately, cooling down. Yeah. But you said right now it would be a lot more of X's and O's. Yeah, and, coaches are going to be aware and certainly concerned about players and where they're at mentally right now, and they'll ease into that too. But with the delay being as long as it is right now, coaches are definitely coaching. They are going over the finer details of what they want to accomplish for the rest of this football game, and I guarantee it. One man who is locked and loaded right now is Tyler Tarnowski, a Canadian receiver, fourth-year player from Waterloo, and I just think that. His opportunity has presented itself not in the way that he imagined, but he'll be a bigger part of that offense right now moving forward. And so, a lot going on, from the mental aspect of things. Yes, they'll have to warm up, and that'll be a fairly easy process. But at the end of the day, something that you really don't plan for, but coaches will keep in mind the emotions of what's going on in that locker room and what this does to their team.
It's a very individual thing here too. The fact of how you get ready, how you deal with the timing of all this, and I don't mean that from the X and O part of it or the medical issues with Luther, but each player handles their own warm-up differently. Yeah, so the timing, and somebody who will be important for each organization right now is a strength coach, and to understand his communication with legal officials, understanding when the game is likely going to start back up, what's the likely time we'll have to go back and warm up, and then informing the players of that, and maybe giving his advice on what he wants them to do, or each guy doing their own thing. Some guys will stay moving around and fired up, or try to stay going the whole time. I was a guy who would sit. That's what I wanted to do. I like to sit. I would stretch. I would calm my mind completely, put headphones on, and just stretch and relax and get my mind. And then when it was 5 minutes to go, I would ramp it up for that 5 minutes. I didn't want to try to ramp it up for the whole 20 minutes because I was just burning energy.
How are you, Enoch?
I mean, for me, it's the same thing. It's like last tips and reminders, and especially being a linebacker, a middle linebacker at that, you want to start to remind guys again, okay, well, remember on this play, this is what we got to do. Hey, look here. And you talked about it already, Matty. Coaches, hey, look. We got to get back to X's and O's. Look, remember this is what... And then you look at the depth chart, and who was behind Luther on this particular play. Yes, you were supposed to be replacing him, but this particular play where he might have been the key, he might have had to get the key block. Now we got to talk about whoever was going to replace him. What are we switching on here? And you got to remember, we're dealing with potential racial changes, and you talk about special teams-wise as well, right? Your special teams coordinator is coming. Hey, look, kickoff. Now you got to be on, and you're now the backup for this kickoff. And so there's a lot going on that have to be reminded about before you get back out there. And it all happens with emotions running high.
I wasn't one of those players that could just get up and go out there and play. I'd go through a process, with my arm included to get that lathered up, my legs, my lower half. And there's a lot to that. And when that's changed and like this, were you like, because there's some players that are like dogs, they can play right away and go 0 to 100. I wasn't that way. Were you that way?
No. I mean, I think there's more for the quarterback and what you have to go through and get your arm right and everything that you need to do.
Yeah. All right, let's get you back to Tim Hortons Field right now. Here is Rod and Dwayne Ford.
Thank you, Kate. Obviously, waiting with the players on the field and waiting for the game to resume, and you have talked a lot about the difficulty that the players will have to start playing football again after something that looked obviously so serious on the field, and just thinking of the health of Luther Hakunovanu. But you talked about it before. You've been through it as a player, seeing these injuries, and you do. How difficult do you think it is for players, and they have talked about it, to get back and go?
Yeah, well, it's especially to have it happen on the first play of the game, this reset, you gear up to sort of, you're trying to peak, as the guys in studio were talking about, peaking for the start of the game in terms of timing your warm-up and your mindset, etc. And now to go completely down to zero based on what just happened, and go through that process again. So, I mean, that's I guess the football piece of it that's challenging. And as I alluded to before, quite honestly, the human part of it,
yeah,
I think is even more challenging. As it's a game that in order to play, honestly, you need to go out there with a mindset that you're pretty much invincible. I mean, that's to play with speed, to play with aggression, intensity. That's the way you're wired. That's the way you're thinking. And you have this very sudden reminder that you're not invincible. And for some guys, it can be harder than others to get that out of their mind and get back to playing the game.
Now, the longer delay, as Kate had talked about, was to get another ambulance here. Protocol, of course, needing an ambulance on site at all times. So he was taken in one ambulance to Hamilton General Hospital. This is a reaction of players. Niles Morgan with the Elks involved in the tackle, and just kind of a freak incident with Nick Anderson coming in the other way, and Luther Hakunovanu violently twisting his head and neck area. So players went off the field after a certain period of time once he was taken away, once Luther was taken away in an ambulance, and as said, gone to Hamilton General now. So that's the way things stand, and as you say, players now coming back on and will need time to warm up again.
Yeah, and to get ready, and hopefully, we hope they've received a little bit of positive information about their teammate, because obviously that's a big part of it too, is concern for one of your brothers, quite frankly, that to know that he's going through something challenging, and you're out here playing a game, sometimes you don't feel quite right either.
Well, as said, noticed a movement in his lower extremities, Kate, and we saw him raise his arm as well. And obviously, if we get any updates at all from Hamilton General Hospital and the health of Luther Hakunovanu, we will certainly let you know, and we'll send it back to you as the players start their warm-up to resume this game.
Well, certainly hoping, Rod, that everything is okay with Luther Hakunovanu. As you see the players back on the field, game to resume in approximately 5 minutes. We will be back after this. Players officially back on the field at Tim Hortons Field. If you're just tuning in, a delay in this game as Luther Hakunovanu was injured on the very first play of the game. He has been taken to Hamilton General Hospital. We will let you know anything that we hear throughout this broadcast, but of course are hoping and praying that he is okay. And for these players right now, before I mention this too, Matt, you brought up a really good point again in the commercial break. The delay too is because we were waiting for a second ambulance to get to the field. The ambulance took Luther to the hospital, obviously. It is protocol for an ambulance to be in place, so obviously that is why we have the current delay. But we were talking about this, Enoch, too, and this is so much to it. So much emotion for the players' sake, but even for families. I mean, families watching this, if Luther's family is watching this, I mean, the concern just went from 0 to 100. Really, it's hard to think about a football game right now.
Absolutely, Kate. This is real life, right? It's real life, and Luther has family. He's local. He went to York University, and he likely has a lot of family in the stands, and they want to know the details as well. And so, again, the precautions were being taken, and everything is being taken care of as far as the process and going forward.
We're trying to explain to people that are watching the emotion that goes on, and we saw Scott Milanovich on the sidelines trying to crank up his team because he knows the importance of any most emotional draw that it has on players individually, and it's all different. But and that's going on both sides, and it's just important to get back up there to that level that you heard Dwayne Ford talk about of intensity in order to play this game at the highest level. And these guys are trying to get there desperately now and figure this out themselves.
And Taylor, a guy with not a ton of experience, Matt, you know, now going one deeper into the bullpen as backups to fill for Luther. That's another, you know, they've had issues with turnovers, interceptions. A lot of this stuff comes from communication. So, again, it should be another challenge for Taylor.
I think it'd be a lot easier for him as a young man as opposed to MBT to get ready coming out of this break.
Really? Oh, from
just as far
warming your body up?
Yeah, just mentally, not so much mentally, just physically, because of the age difference. And he's been pretty good with the football.
Physically, there's no doubt about it. My first 3 years in regards to how I would ramp up for 5 years, ramp up for some of this would be a non-issue.
Yeah.
You want to get going right away.
Physically, a non-issue.
Right.
My last 5 years of playing,
we need more time.
I'd be talking to those trainers, talking about, make me a cocktail to get me warmed up, please. Whatever you got.
Jesse's having a nap in between anything, aren't you?
Oh, that could happen.
Yeah, that could.
That could definitely happen. Yeah.
Look, I know we only saw one play of football, so this is so hard to judge, but obviously it flips now with MBT coming out on the field. Any change of game plan whatsoever, or are they going exactly as they were going before this game started?
It's exactly. You know, you can't take anything away from that first play. It was a nice read by Taylor Powell, and the ball was out, and Luther turned it up like he's supposed to. Then just the play happened. But, yeah, I don't think there's going to be many adjustments. I think it's just more checking off boxes, making sure people are on point, understanding what the game plan was, what they want to do, what they're anticipating in this field zone, on this hash, you know, and when it's down a distance, and just going over all those situations. I think somebody mentioned up here on teams as well, offensive and defensive. That is going on, getting the guys teed up mentally.
And it's the mental part, Maddie. It's the mental part that is extremely important. And as a leader on the team, I'm going to the guys on the line. You talk about this all the time. Everybody has a role. Everyone has a role. And if you're the energy guy, I'm coming to your face right now. Hey, look, I need you. I need you right now. I need to hear you how you usually are because this team needs you, right? And I might even do it myself. And I start because the team needs the leaders to step up big right now because the spirit of the team is a real thing and it's got to start somewhere.
And that's understanding, being a leader and being able to your point, being able to look around and understand what we're missing or what we need right now.
But that's you, right? And that's all I ever ask of my teammates when I played is just be you.
Be you.
We know who you are, right? Just be you. And that doesn't change in this situation, doesn't change in a playoff game or a Grey Cup.
So you can see the ambulance arriving here at Tim Hortons Field. Good news from our Matthew Shinetti. He was tweeting he was moving all of his extremities, and he was conscious when he was leaving the field. Let's get you back to Tim Hortons Field. Here's Rod and Dwayne.
All right, Kate, and as you and the panel have talked about, and Dwayne, difficult phase for all of the players to get back into football again. It's been over a half hour, about 35 minutes, and another ambulance has arrived. And here's hoping it will not be needed. And good news about Luther Hakunavanhu moving his extremities, taken off to Hamilton General Hospital. Again, any updates we get, we'll be sure to send them your way. Taylor Powell off the field. I mean, understandably, it was fumbled by Hakunavanhu and just that terrible collision. And so it will resume now with Edmonton football. McLeod Bethel Thompson, the starting quarterback in this night with the injury to Trey Ford as we get set to resume this game after only 2 plays, the kickoff and 1 from scrimmage by Hamilton. From the 43 of the Ticats, after a 39-minute delay, it's handed off to Javon Lake. And Jamal Peters, his ex-teammate, comes in with a nice tackle to limit that game.
Yeah, and McLeod Bethel Thompson, as mentioned, getting the start here today with the injury to Trey Ford, looking for his first win of the season as a starter. He came on and finished up, played the second half last week after Trey Ford suffered that upper body injury.
And no gain by Javon Lake on that carry. So a 2nd down and 10, Bethel Thompson and the Edmonton Elks looking to win their 3rd game in a row. Throwing, it is caught too. Geno Lewis has it. Little spin, tries to get away inside the 35 with Richard Leonard hanging on and getting some help from Jonathan Moxey.
Yeah, good job by Leonard to make the tackle, wrap him up without any extra yards allowed. I'm not sure if Geno, when he caught this one in space, recognized how close he was to that first down marker as he tried to make a couple of moves. as opposed to maybe just getting upfield directly to move those sticks.
Well, he got awfully close, nearly the 10 yards. You're right, about a foot away for Geno Lewis, who did not have a catch last week in their victory over the BC Lions. So see Bethel Thompson out for this play with Dakota Prukop coming in, their short yardage quarterback, to continue this drive as he goes to the left, and he should easily have enough with Ray Wilborn pulling him back and Kyle Wilson there too, and a flag coming out, but looked like it would be enough for a first down for Edmonton. And it was announced by the referee Tom Valesi that it's an offside against Hamilton, so they'll move it 5 yards up, and it is indeed a first down for the Edmonton Elks.
And it's been interesting to watch in the opening minutes of this game. I know on first down, first play from scrimmage for Edmonton, we know Edmonton wants to run the football. That's where they've had success their last couple games. Hamilton at times playing with 3 defensive tackles in the ball game.
There they are running it. Javon Lake, who after the injury to Kevin Brown has become their feature back. They brought him in for special teams, but he's been great on offense for him. A look at their offense now.
Yeah, and some change in the offseason to that offensive line, added depth with former #1 overall pick Shane Richards. He gets the start at right guard. A lot of talk about Javon Leake coming in at running back. Another change I like in this lineup has been the addition of Tevin Jones in that receiving core. A guy who had a strong start to last season with Saskatchewan, tailed off a little bit, released by Montreal in camp this year, but has been very noticeable, the size and strength he adds to that receiving group.
2nd and 7 from the 26 of the Ticats. Throwing off to Leak again. Been dangerous as a runner and those short yardage plays, those short passes, as he picks up another first down with the Elks getting closer now.
And Leak finds himself with a lot of space as he catches this one just bubbling or swinging out of the backfield. Open yards in front of him to go pick up that first down.
Gets it down to the Tiger Cat 15. The opening possession by Hamilton on that awful injury to Haku Novano. The ball was fumbled and picked up right into the hands of Darius Bratton. And this is Edmonton taking advantage of the field position now. And down inside the 10 for Curly Gittens Jr. as he gets it down close to the 5. And very close to another first down. Be about a yard shy.
Well, Curly Gittens Jr. had a tremendous season catching passes a couple years ago from McLeod Bethel Thompson when both were Toronto Argonauts. Looking to continue that chemistry with his quarterback.
That was his 51st catch of the season, and up to around 440 yards receiving for Curly Gittens Jr. in his 5th year out of Wilfrid Laurier University, just down the road from Hamilton. 2nd and 1. The Hamilton 6. It's kept by Prukop, and he easily gets the first down. He gets down to about the 3. It'll be a 1st and goal coming up here for Edmonton.
Dakota Prukop, one of the many CFL quarterbacks in the last few years who's carved out a pretty good niche for himself in these short yardage situations. Nice execution there from both quarterback and offensive line to pick that one up with ease.
A couple of nights ago, we saw Tommy Stevens pick up 3 touchdowns in Calgary's game against Ottawa. Prukop was leading the CFL in touchdowns with 7 of them coming into the week, and getting close to that point now as he stays in. It's a 1st and goal, Edmonton from the 4. Dakota Prukop at quarterback. He's handing off. Javon Leake, no, excuse me, it is Rankin. Another new running back, Justin Rankin, who has another touchdown in this, just his 3rd game with the Edmonton Elks. Rankin had one receiving last week in the win over BC, and he has a rushing touchdown now as well.
Yeah, watch the safety. Katsantonis coming on a blitz. Nice job by Mark Cordy, the center, to come off and pick that one up, keeping Katsantonis from disrupting the play, allowing Rankin to go in standing up for the major.
In 2 games, and really filling in for the injured Kevin Brown. He had 17 carries, 137 yards. He also, as mentioned, had the receiving touchdown, 4 catches for 31 yards. Boris Beatty, the point after. Justin Rankin, who was cut in training camp and brought back because of the injury concerns at running back. Had one last week. And has one just a moment ago to give the Elks the early lead, 7-0 in Hamilton. Last week in Montreal, on just the second series for the Ticats, Bo Levi Mitchell going to his right and threw it back, and it was intercepted by Darnell Sankey, and that was enough for Scott Milanovich, even though he was leading the CFL in passing yards, to go with Taylor Powell. Yeah,
the interceptions, turnovers had been a concern for head coach Scott Milanovich and the Hamilton Tiger Cats, and I think particularly as a veteran guy, you talk about throwing it across the middle. He had thrown a very similar interception the week before in the home game against Montreal. I think it was just concern with that decision making that led to the switch for Scott Milanovich.
Back for the kickoff is Jonathan Moxey, and coming in hard is Leon O'Neill on the special teams tackle, as the Ticats keep looking for answers in the return game as well. Smoke Harris injured and out in this game. So here's Taylor Powell, who, as we mentioned before, would look pretty good coming off the bench last week in Montreal.
Yeah, he was terrific. Completed 30 of 38, over 300 yards through the air. A couple of touchdown passes in that ball game, and I think most importantly, combination of a couple of things. No interceptions thrown, but also using his legs well. 52 yards on the ground for Powell when forced to run.
Greg Bell is the running back in for the injured James Butler. Bell in his second game with the Ticats. He played back at the end of June in Ottawa. Here's a look at the rest of the Elks.
Yeah, and those offensive tackle positions continue to be something of a revolving door. Quinton Barrow back in. Joel Figueroa to the injured list. Jordan Murray slides from right to left. And as mentioned, Greg Bell back in the lineup. They like his explosiveness. James Butler just deals with being a little bit banged up at this stage in the season.
2nd and 7 after they picked up the 3. And that is caught by Stephen Dunbar, who seems to thrive on these matchups between Hamilton and Edmonton, no matter which side he's on. They recall a year ago he had a couple of touchdowns for the Elks back here in Hamilton than when they won.
There you see Dunbar motioning down towards the box. And then just releasing to the flat.
So not enough for a first down, though. There's Gavin Cobb back there with Dylan Mitchell. You'll notice no Javon Leake. He's become so valuable to the offense. They brought him in as a return star, but it's different now. And they like Leake on offense, so they're going with different returners. Leake wasn't one last week, and not this week. It's Cobb across the 20, the 25, and that return for the Edmonton Elks is McLeod. Bethel Thompson comes back on, had a short field to work with in the first possession, and led them down for the opening touchdown in this game. Edmonton looking to make it 3 straight wins for the first time since 2018. Last week against BC, Trey Ford starting for the 3rd straight game. And Dwayne, this is what happened that knocked him out when he was tackled by BC's Thibaut Debaye.
Yeah, tracked down from behind. You can see big body landing on top of him with the ball underneath.
Sorry, Sione Tehema on the tackle, but nonetheless, there he is now. And, you know, this is a game he would love to be back at, too. We saw him in the previous 2 years. He's 2-0 as a CFL player in Hamilton.
2-0 in this stadium, and this is as close to home as it gets for the Niagara Falls, Ontario native.
But it's McLeod Bethel Thompson, who played well coming off the bench for Ford last week, handing it off as they try to establish that running game again. Nick Usher limits Javon Leake to about a yard on that play.
And looking at that Cats defense, Brandon Barlow leading the Cats pass rush from his defensive end position. DQ Thomas done a nice job at the middle linebacker spot. Also a presence on special teams for this Hamilton group. And they get a little experience back in the secondary. Jamal Peters, who missed last game, Stavros Katsantonis, who'd been out for the last few weeks, returning to their regular spots.
2nd and 8 now. Quick look to the left, and looked like he was trying to set up a screen, but just ends up throwing it into the turf. And a 3rd and 8, 2-0 coming up here for Edmonton as the punting unit will come on.
Yeah, the offensive lineman had set up the convoy there in front of their running back, but Tiger Cats had infiltrated the backfield to disrupt that one. Bethel Thompson just protecting the field position for the punt team.
So Jake Julian from Barrie, Ontario, back in Southern Ontario, and the leading punter in the Canadian Football League. Leader in net punting too, and gets his first one away. And on the return, it is Jonathan Moxey, again doing the returning right now for the Ticats. So Taylor Powell coming back on. His first start this season, started half of the season last year because of injuries in his rookie year. Hamilton trailing by 7 with the ball here at Tim Hortons Field. Mentioned how early the quarterback change was made in Montreal last week. Bo Levi Mitchell out. Taylor Powell comes in, and he looked pretty sharp. Of course, had a lot of experience playing as a rookie last year. He went 30 for 38, 319 yards, a couple of touchdown passes as well. And now he's their starting quarterback again as we send it down to Matthew Shinetti.
Yeah, it really doesn't matter, I guess, Rod, what Taylor Powell did last year, because no one expected this would be the situation this season. So many eyes were on Bo Levi Mitchell after he restructured his contract and then was anointed the starter. And I'm still kind of processing what Scott Milanovic did last week and yanking him after that one play. And I asked Bo Levi Mitchell what his feelings were before the game, and he's not talking. Taylor Powell, though, when we asked him this week what he feels different this season, he said it's nothing tangible, but I feel more comfortable in the system, in the offense. Scott Milanovic says that he spoke to Bo after the last game in Montreal, spoke to the team this week, and yet Taylor Powell has had success, as you said, Rod, but still feels like there's something unsettled here in Hamilton.
And Matthews starting at his 26 now, throwing to the right. Deep route intended for Dunbar, but it falls shy. But yeah, the circumstances are different for Powell this time around. Last year they needed him. The other quarterbacks were hurt. This time he is going in after a future Hall of Famer gets benched.
Yeah, it's obviously tough for both of them, and it was, I thought, kind of a cool scene, quite frankly, at the end of the game last week to see Powell and Mitchell come together on the sidelines and embrace and kind of exchange a few words, the gist of which Taylor suggested was just, we'll get through this together, basically get this team back on track.
And he's going to run. Did this effectively last week in Montreal, and the ball comes out. It looked like after he went down, and Taylor Powell is still down on the turf. My goodness. Well, training staff coming on to look at Taylor Powell, who chose to run, and Bo Levi Mitchell, lo and behold, we just talked about this, is coming on the field now. He'll be at quarterback for at least the next 3 plays, with Taylor Powell taking a hard hit when he decided to take off. And I'd mentioned before, with less pressure coming on him against Montreal, he ran the ball quite effectively when he came off the bench for Mitchell last week.
Yeah, Powell using his legs well, averaged over 10 yards a carry last week. This is a situation, you know, from a coaching point of view, you'd probably like to see your quarterback get down and protect himself rather than going upright into traffic here. He ends up taking a heck of a shot. Niles Morgan flying around out there.
Niles
the previous
Morgan
play is under review by the command center.
and Sean Oakman. And if you're just joining us, yeah, it's Niles Morgan coming in. You see that again. Morgan was involved in the play, and just kind of a freak accident with Nick Anderson coming in and Luther Hakunovanu, who violently hit the turf in the first play from scrimmage, and he was taken to hospital. And nice to see Taylor Powell getting up.
Yeah, that's not a great look, as it looked like a pretty good head-to-head shot there from Morgan on the quarterback, Powell.
And going into the tent and looking a bit woozy as he heads in. So Bo Levi Mitchell, early in this game, just past the midway point of the first quarter, is called into action for being benched last week early against the Alouettes. So the ball had come out. They review, was it a fumble? Here's what's decided at the command center.
After review by the command center, the quarterback was down by contact at the 43-yard line. It'll be Hamilton ball, first down.
So Hamilton maintains possession of the football. Concerns now for their new starting quarterback, Taylor Powell.
Again, on his way down, takes a big shot from Morgan, whom he didn't see coming.
Bo Levi Mitchell in at quarterback now. 4-man rush with time. Looks deep and The flag comes out on the coverage on Shamar Bridges. It's Kai Gray of the Elks, their boundary corner, the one getting flagged for it, as the Ticats offense will quickly move up the field.
Yeah, this will be an interesting one to take a look at.
Offensive pass interference.
Oh.
Hamilton, number 17. 10-yard penalty. Repeat, first down.
To your point, initially they were coming up like it was DPI, but it's offensive pass interference.
Yeah, and this was the thing that I was waiting to see, is it felt to me like Kai Gray was just holding his position here. And there you saw Gray, the one who was sort of in better position to make a play on this ball. Bridges runs through him a little bit there, which leads to the call.
So that puts Hamilton back to their 33. It's a 1st and 20 on that 10-yard penalty for offensive pass interference. Mitchell again, and he completes it too, but it's a short one just across the 35, just a couple of yards picked up there for the previous intended receiver, Shamar Bridges.
There you see the career numbers on one of the all-time greats, Bo Levi Mitchell. Kind of struggled over the last couple of years here in Hamilton to gain much traction, battling injuries throughout last year, and trying to get settled in a different offensive system here in 2024.
2nd and 17, deep over the middle and open. It's Greg Bell, new running back in for the Ticats with a big catch, went down, got up again, and Morgan finally upends him down near the 10. Big connection, Bo Levi Mitchell to Greg Bell, and the Tiger Cats are quickly in business.
Hey, great connection, and I'll tell you what, that's a pro. Bo Levi Mitchell, after what he went through last week, come out here in the first quarter of this ball game and step up, make a big play for his team like that. They get Bell, the running back, in a bit of a mismatch with the middle linebacker Morgan in space. Gets in behind him. Good shot there. Unfortunately tripped up by his own man coming in trying to get a block for him.
A gain of 63 yards. Mitchell to Bell in at running back for James Butler. And it's Tim White on the sweep. And he gets inside the 10 down to about the 7. Let's have another look at the biggest offensive play easily for the Tiger Cats in this game.
Yeah, again, Ticats anticipating what they were going to get coverage-wise. Tyler Ternowski, he sees Morgan in pursuit, which Bell can't see. He's trying to get an angle to make sure that Morgan can't get to his guy. Unfortunately, just clipped the heels of Greg Bell and took him down.
Nonetheless, inside the 10. 2nd down now coming up. 2nd and 6 at the Edmonton 7. Ticats down 7. Looking for a shot at tying it up. Mitchell with time, bumps, dumps it off to Bell, and he doesn't catch it, and the Elks say they have it. Derek Moncrief, the strong side coverage linebacker, in on Bell, and we do have a turnover. Went off Bell and into the hands of Moncrief. So another turnover. Edmonton will take over deep in their own zone.
Huge turnover, untimely for the Tiger Cats. Big play by the Edmonton defense. Keep an eye on Moncrief right behind that goalpost, sitting in the bottom left of your screen, and just right through the arms of Greg Bell. And Moncrief gets underneath it, keeps it off the turf.
Well, as frustrated as Scott Milanovic has been with ball security for Bo Levi Mitchell, he can't hang that interception on.
Not at all.
Just in and out of the hands of Greg Bell. And see Taylor Powell for a moment there. Back out of the tent and looking pretty frustrated too. But for Mitchell, sending it right to Bell, and it ends up in the hands of Derek Moncrief. And the 11th interception this season thrown by Bo Levi Mitchell. But again, can't fault him for that one. 2nd and 10 now. Edmonton at the 4. And here's McLeod Bethel Thompson from his end zone. It's caught by Geno Lewis. 1st down Edmonton, up near their 20 and buying themselves some valuable real estate as they were pinned back near their own end zone.
Yeah, nice throw from Bethel Thompson out from under his goalpost. Remember, from there, he's only working with half the field. You can't really go left because of the goalpost. You don't want to risk throwing it to that side. So working with half the field, Gino Lewis doing a nice job to box out Jamal Peters to go get that catch, convert this one to a first down.
Bethel Thompson is 4 for 6 for 44 yards. It's a 1st and 10 at the Edmonton 20. Little pump fake. Finds the open receiver again. It is Gittins with his 2nd catch of the night up around the 28 of Edmonton, and a 2nd and short will be coming up for the Elks.
Combination pattern to that side. Gino Lewis was working out towards the flat. He's the primary receiver. Hamilton coverage seemed to cover him, follow him out wide, which opened up that window on the inside for Bethel Thompson to go underneath to Curly Gittins Jr.
Jarius Jackson mentioned as a connection to Scott Milanovich back in 2012, the backup quarterback to Ricky Ray. Talked a lot about that team that went on to win the Grey Cup, but Jarius Jackson went into coaching. Head coach now taking over for Chris Jones. Dakota Prukop coming in on that 2nd and short, and a flag does come out, and again it looked like Prukop had enough across the 30 to have that first down for Edmonton as Bethel Thompson is heading back on.
Offside. Defensive line for Hamilton. 5-yard penalty. First down.
You talk about some of the stacked quarterback rooms in CFL history. 2012 in Toronto. Scott Milanovich leading the meetings with Ricky Ray, Jarius Jackson, and a couple of young guys named Zach Kalaris and Trevor Harris.
Amazing.
In the room as well. Not bad.
And there was a young quarterback in that Grey Cup that year. Came off the bench for a touchdown pass for the Calgary Stampeders named Bo Levi Mitchell. Bethel Thompson throwing it, and that is complete to Dylan Mitchell. Another Mitchell in this game, and that pickup, another good one on first down for the Elks. Another 2nd and short, about 2 yards shy.
Dylan Mitchell comes into this week as Edmonton's leading receiver in terms of yardage. Over 450 yards for him thus far. Certainly a chance with a strong second half to make a run at 1,000.
Had 3 catches for 20 yards last week in their victory over the BC Lions. He picked up 8 there. It's a 2nd and 2 at the Edmonton 42. And another first down, bulling the way forward for the Edmonton Elks. As Rankin, who has a touchdown in this game, the only points minus the point after, of course, scored by Justin Rankin, and a carry there for a first down.
Yeah, Rankin comes in leading contingent of Elks rushers. They have 4 guys averaging over 7 yards a carry this season. Rankin leads the way at 8.1. Not a surprise. Javon Leake at 7. Trey Ford 7.2. The other guy, surprising, McLeod Bethel Thompson.
You don't see run a lot. Well, back to Rankin again. Mentioned he was cut earlier by the team, and the injury to Kevin Brown, he was brought back, and of course they have Javon Leake, who's taken a more prominent role too. But Rankin is embracing this chance now in his 3rd game with the Elks, and there's Leake in the sidelines.
Yeah, they've proven to be a pretty lethal 1-2 punch over their couple of weeks sharing the backfield.
Last week, Rankin against BC had 7 carries for 77 yards and 1 catch for 17, and a touchdown thrown to him by Bethel Thompson. Back to the ground, back to Rankin. He keeps his push going. After first contact, he picked up another 3-4 yards and another first down. And the last play of the first quarter. Very somber note to start with that injury to Luther Hakunavanu. The teams went to the dressing room, and after more than a half-hour delay coming back out, Edmonton got that touchdown by Rankin. That's the difference right now heading into quarter number 2 and a 7-0 Edmonton lead. The CFL continues to mourn the loss of legendary offensive line coach Dan Durazio, who died earlier this week of cancer. Dan joined the league back in 1998 with Calgary after coaching in the U.S. college ranks for 26 years. After 5 seasons with the Stampeders, he moved with Wally Buono to BC, spent several more years developing all-stars, earning the love and respect of players wherever he went. He had a hand in 4 Grey Cup titles, 2 in Calgary, 2 with the Lions. Our deepest condolences to Dan's wife, Lisa, his family, and everyone in the CFL community whose lives were touched by Coach Dan D'Orazio. Among the many, the morning is lost. I am standing beside one right now. Dwayne Ford, a fullback with the Stampeders in 1998 when D'Orazio arrived at the Canadian Football League. And I know you have very fond memories of your old coach.
Yeah, absolutely. I think about Dan, it makes me smile because he was such a unique character. Quirky guy, incredibly quirky guy, but one of the greatest teachers I ever had the chance to work with.
Eugene Lewis has the catch. He turns around. He gets inside the 20 and down to the 10. Stavros Katsantonis taking him out. But keep telling me more about Dan D'Orazio.
Well, I mean, I remember Dan's first meeting with us. You know, for me as a fullback, I was always in the offensive line meetings. Our first meeting of training camp in 1998. Long meeting, probably, you know, went for well over an hour. Dan did not stop moving around the room, demonstrating, teaching things, talking nonstop. It was so amazing. He actually got a standing ovation from all the guys in the room at the end of the meeting.
It's a 1st and goal now. Eugene Lewis with the brilliant turnaround and run after that catch from McLeod Bethel Thompson. 1st and goal, and handing off Javon Leake. Winds his way down just inside the 5. We just saw a shot of Jarius Jackson, and we talked to him a couple of days ago and asked him about Dan D'Orazio. They had a history, of course, with the BC Lions. He was visibly very emotional talking about his friend.
Yeah, I mean, a history that started when Jarius was a player coming into this league. Dan D'Orazio was the offensive line coach, and a relationship forged. Then they later had an opportunity to coach together, and Jarius talked to us at length about what a mentor Dan D'Orazio was to him, helping him understand some things from an offensive line perspective, protections, and so on.
2nd down and goal. It gets batted down at the line of scrimmage. So the Ticats get the hands up. There's Casey Sales making a difference and forcing what looks like, yes, a field goal situation coming on Boris Beatty. So, and Scott Milanovic, too, head coach of the Ticats. And I didn't know this. He too had a history with Dan D'Orazio.
Well, yeah, I mean, you mentioned Dan having coached for 26 years in the U.S. college ranks before he came up to the Canadian Football League. But one of his stops was at the University of Maryland. He was offensive coordinator when Scott Milanovic was the quarterback there. And the two of them, of course, after their time at Maryland, went on to become good friends while working in the CFL.
So flag out. They were lining up for a field goal. And now the offense. Bethel Thompson heading back on the field. Remember, it was a 3rd down and goal at the 5.
Offside, Hamilton number 44. Half the distance to the goal, but it will result in a 1st down.
So Casey Sales, he made the play before, but that time the offside really costly and looked like it'd be a field goal situation only.
Yeah, you saw Sales going early. Usually you see the finger pointing happening both ways, but he wasn't even trying to deny it.
So back to the 2.5-yard line, half the distance, and a 1st and goal now. Edmonton with a great chance now to double their lead. And the penalty story is really costing the Ticats this season, certainly this game. McLeod Bethel Thompson led them down for their last touchdown, but that was scored on the ground. They go that way to Javon Leake. 3-2-1 in for the touchdown. Both of the running backs scoring touchdowns tonight for Edmonton. Rankin first, and now Javon Leake with his 5th touchdown of the season.
Yeah, Leake with a nice cut here, bounces it wide. Getting north-south, and you can see as he goes down the ball, breaking the front plane of that goal line for the touchdown. 2 majors for Edmonton after gaining possession via turnover.
And he does look sore in the right hip area. Javon Leake seemed grimacing. Slow to get off. Boris Beatty on again, and this time does get to kick it, and it's a point after instead of a field goal try. After a 13-play, 106-yard drive. Remember, they started back inside their 5. Took over 5 minutes off the clock as well. Impressive drive by McLeod Bethel-Thompson. And the Edmonton Elks capped off by the touchdown by Leake, and a 14-0 lead. Don't miss the return of the global phenomenon critics call thrilling and endlessly captivating. Talking about HBO's House of the Dragon, the new season streaming now only on Crave. Rod Smith, Dwayne Ford, Matthew Shinetti back here at Tim Hortons Field in Hamilton. There's Andy Litre, who's one of the two back for the kick. See Jonathan Moxey as well. The Ticats in a hole, down 14 now. The latest Javon Leake touchdown. Moxey again doing the kick returning tonight. And he gets that one up across the 30. Bo Levi Mitchell coming out. Let's go down to Matthew for an update on Taylor Powell.
Well, Rod, we're still waiting to see if Taylor Powell will come out of the Ticats locker room. I'm hearing he was initially assessed for a concussion. He is in the locker room for precautionary reasons. But when they took his helmet away and told him that, Taylor Powell was obviously frustrated. And here we go. The storyline of Taylor Powell and Bo Levi Mitchell. Bo in there. We're still waiting on Powell, Rod.
And Matthew, just last week, Mitchell was benched early in the game in Montreal. Powell came on, named the starter tonight, but had that injury in the first quarter. And it's still Bo Levi Mitchell in. And handing off to Greg Bell. Big run this time, and the big catch before. Across midfield and finally out of bounds. Cordell Jackson escorts him out, but for another huge play by Greg Bell inside the Elks territory.
Keep an eye on the work of Jordan Murray. Moved from right tackle to play left tackle this week. He's going to pull. He's the guy who's got to secure the edge on this one. Manages to pin his guy to the inside, allowing Greg Bell to get around the corner for a big gainer.
It was the second game of the season for Bell. He played back in week 4 in Ottawa, replacing James Butler, as he is doing again tonight. The 63-yard catch earlier, and that big run, and gets it again, and that time picks up 2 or 3 yards for Greg Bell.
And there's the book on Greg Bell and his history, his journey to becoming a Hamilton Tiger Cat. Best known for those years at San Diego State. Over 1,700 rushing yards and 15 touchdowns.
His 3 carries for 32 yards, that longest at 27 you just saw before. 2nd and 8. Bo Levi Mitchell passing deep left. Coverage is there. Stephen Dunbar, and it was Bynum that was just ahead of him. Devondrick Bynum with a good play for the Elks to force a 3rd down, and Hamilton has to punt.
Yeah, Stephen Dunbar lined up outside on this one, just straight match up against the corner. Bynum, and the rookie does a good job maintaining his position, walling out the receiver. And nearly had himself a pick.
And again, not Javon Leake back on the returns. It's Gavin Cobb taking it just inside the 20 and gets it up closer to the 25 with the tackle by Felix Garangoche. Big story this week. New owner of the Edmonton Elks, Larry Thompson. We're going to hear from him coming up here. CFL on TSN in Hamilton. It's been a busy news week in the Canadian Football League in Edmonton. Larry Thompson, introduced a few days ago as the new owner. Private ownership for the Edmonton football team now. With more, let's head down to Matthew.
It's a pleasure to be alongside Larry Thompson, Rod. And Larry, why was now the right time for you to become the first private owner of the Edmonton Elks?
Well, basically, this is the first time that they wanted to sell the team, basically. So, and I happened to be standing in line, and fortunately, we got picked. So,
I know how passionate you are for your team. What will it take to reestablish Edmonton as one of the winning franchises in the CFL?
we have a lot of work to do, and we're going to do it. We're going to do whatever it takes to get back to our winning ways.
What does this mean to you? I know that you spent time at Clark Stadium and then those seats behind the bench there at Commonwealth Stadium. What does it mean for you and your family now to be such an integral part of what will happen to the Edmonton Elks going forward?
Well, we're all very excited about it, and I'm excited to be here with the team today. It's my first time ever in Hamilton, so it's been a fun trip so far, and it will be. And anyway, back to my family. We're all excited, and we're happy with what we think we can succeed in the future. So,
congratulations and thank you for this, Larry.
Okay, thank you very much.
And thank you, Matthew. And Larry Thompson taking over a team that's won a couple of games in a row and stalled there. You see him with Rick Lalisher, who's brought in once again to help steer this along for the Edmonton team. But nice to have an owner with such a connection, such a rich history of cheering for Edmonton in the Canadian football.
Well, yeah, you can tell in listening to Larry Thompson through the week, the process of this purchase, that this really means something to him. You know, he is not just a CFL fan, but an Edmonton Elks fan.
Jake Julian the punt, Jonathan Moxey on the return. Across the 35. Looked like he was going out at first and still picked up another few yards in that return by Moxey. But yeah, the connection, season ticket holder. Going back to Clark Stadium back in the 70s and even earlier. So he knows the good and bad of that franchise, and that's good for Edmonton to see a man like that come in now to take charge.
Yeah, and just looking to restore some of that pride that has existed in the green and gold and amongst their football community for so many years.
Return by Moxey up to the 44. Bo Levi Mitchell at quarterback after an injury to Taylor Powell, who started the game. Another deep throw to an open receiver. Keandre Smith gets in on the act with his first catch, knocked down by Luchez Burivoy, but a big first down for the Ticats. With Mitchell, they've been able to move the ball. They had the interception deep in the Elk zone, so they still don't have any points on the board.
And Keandre Smith getting a little more opportunity this season to play inside rather than as a wideout, getting a lot of looks. He's earned the trust, certainly, of his quarterbacks through his first couple of years in the Canadian Football League.
Had 445 yards receiving coming in, and he does lead the Ticats with 5 receiving touchdowns. 1st and 10 at the Edmonton 45. Open again is Smith. And he breaks a tackle, and Niles Morgan finally takes him down, but back-to-back first down catches for the product of wealth, Keandre Smith.
And great awareness on this one as he's coming across the middle. He recognizes the middle linebacker is going to be there in Niles Morgan, but keeps his focus on the ball, and then immediately able to redirect, dodge that linebacker, pick up the first down.
Bo Levi Mitchell in relief of Taylor Powell's 4 for 6 for 99 yards from the Edmonton 33. Gets rid of it. And it is shy of the end zone. The intended target is Shamar Bridges. The closest to it was Kai Gray, as that one fell shy of the goal line. So a 2nd down and 10 is coming up.
Yeah, and Bo has to stand in there waiting for someone to get open. He's going to end up with a couple of Elks defenders closing on him. Taking a bit of a shot there as he puts the ball up. Hoping Shamar Bridges could go get it.
Sean Oakman coming in with Elliott Brown as well. Nearly getting to him. 2nd and 10 with time. Off to the right to Bell. Had a good first half as he gets it down to the 25, and just his 2nd CFL start with these Ticats, first one in 7 weeks, down to the 25. We got a 3rd and short coming up. It's about 2 yards shy, and the field goal team will be coming on now to see if they can get their first points on the board for Mark Leggio.
Yeah, a full 2 yards to go. Still lots of football to be played. Ticats want to make sure they get some points on the board and don't want to give Edmonton any more momentum at this stage either by coming up empty on the drive if they gamble on 3rd down.
Mark Leggio, 19 of 21, longest to 47. This one much less than that, from about the 32.5, put down by Nick Constantinu. And through it goes. So Hamilton is on the board. Under 7 minutes to go until halftime, and what's turned out to be a very nice night here in Hamilton after a rainy day. We'll be back. Mathiyama, 17 under par. Scotty Scheffler, 7 shots back, tied for 4th. You never know with him, the machine he's been so far. You can watch the 4th round tomorrow. Edmonton football, the lead cut down to 11. Here's Justin Rankin running hard again. He's having a night as he straight arms Stavros Katsantonis after a huge run to get down around the Hamilton 30. Boy, Rankin's really embracing his chance.
Well, so watching Justin Rankin in the last couple games, and you look at his numbers, as I said, averaging over 8 yards a pop coming into this game, but particularly watching him live tonight, you know, I mean, this guy is a big question mark to me. And what the question is how the hell did he get cut? I mean, he is impressive and physical, strong. The pile is moving every time he runs into it. He's been a force.
Well, I guess you got Kevin Brown, who is one of the top running backs in the CN. I guess that'd be it. And he's getting his chance because of the injury to Brown.
Yeah, well, knowing Javon Leake was, even as returner, was going to be on your roster as a backup RB.
So throwing now deep and caught. Every time he's targeted, he catches the ball. That is the 10th time that Tevin Jones has been targeted, and 10 for 10 in that department sets him up for 1st and goal.
Yeah, and this is another guy we talked about off the top in terms of adding a bit of a physical presence to this offense. Big 6'3", 225-pound receiver can create matchup problems for a lot of defensive backs. Tevin Jones goes and gets this one. Big play there for the Elks.
He was cut loose by the Montreal Alouettes earlier in the year. Of course, played for the Saskatchewan Roughriders a couple of seasons with the Riders, but finds a home in Edmonton. 1st and goal at the Hamilton 2. Handing off. Again, Rankin. Rankin up there, and CFL running backs all of a sudden. He's got another rushing touchdown of the night and his 3rd touchdown in 2 games as Edmonton quickly answers back after the Ticat field goal with another major score.
And this is the challenge for the Hamilton Tiger Cats in terms of the way they want to play. So we'll see Justin Rankin find pay dirt again. Yeah, nice job. Middle of that offensive line. Mark Cordy, David Foucault.
Justin Rankin, 3 plays, 70 yards for the Elks. He had 2 of them. That's in under a minute's time. Point after Beatty. 21-3 Edmonton leading, and Rankin has 7 carries for 71 yards and 2 touchdowns. And don't forget that this is just his 3rd CFL game.
Yeah, impressive start here tonight for Justin Rankin as we take a look at this drive. From Edmonton, Rankin with the big run down the sideline. Bethel Thompson to Tevin Jones on the other sideline.
1st and goal at the Hamilton 2. Handing off. Again.
There's Rankin bringing it home. You know what I started to say before, the challenge for Hamilton is they're a team that doesn't want to force plays offensively. They want to play patient, essentially take what's given to them and so on, be smart with the football, limit the gambles so they're not putting themselves in situations where they're increasing the risk of turnover. But if they can't get stops defensively, they have to be aggressive to try and change points, and it becomes a vicious cycle that they've kind of dealt with all year.
Dealing well with everything now. Jonathan Moxey takes a knee.
The Ultra Hole Challenge is back, featuring Wayne Gretzky and Michael Block. Choose your ball now at MichelobUltraHole.ca.
On that deep kickoff, and Moxey takes the knee and gives up a point. It's 22-3 now, a 19-point lead for the Edmonton Elks. They've won in back-to-back years here in Hamilton. Trey Ford had started the previous games. In fact, they were 0-9 when they came to Hamilton on this day 1 year ago. And Ford, making his 2nd start of the season, led them to a victory, and in his first CFL start, got the victory on Canada Day 2022. There's Greg Bell. And he is pushed late by Nick Anderson. Fans calling for a flag, and tempers starting to flare a bit as he's pushed into the signage.
Bell makes a really nice move on Niles Morgan. The middle linebacker is chasing him, getting into position, freezes him. Able to dash outside. I think that one looked a lot uglier than it was. I think at the end that Anderson's actually trying to grab him and hold him up.
So the Tim Hortons faithful still thinking it should have been a penalty. 2nd and 4, the Hamilton 46. Ticats in a deeper hole now. Bo Levi Mitchell, that's Keandre Smith again, and right at the first down markers, the sticks will move for the Ticats.
Big for the Cats. Smith in the slot. Number 2 out to that left side. You see Kai Gray sitting on that out. Let the outside receiver go. And that go route down the sideline.
Back to Greg Bell, running closer to midfield. Talk about Rankin. Bell getting a chance tonight with his second CFL game. Has 5 carries over 40 yards, and he also had that big catch. There's 2 catches for 71 yards and a 63-yarder back in the first quarter that got them down close. Ultimately, it was a turnover that stalled that drive.
Yeah, Scott Milanovich talked about Greg Bell this week and explained how they like his explosiveness, an element that he adds to their backfield.
Some pressure coming as Mitchell gets rid of it. It is caught. Keandre Smith shy of the first down. Got it down around the Edmonton 51, 52-yard line. Furthest advancement, but it is a 3rd down coming up now. And they actually spotted a little further back at about the 54. So it's a good 3 yards. Closer to 4 actually away as the punting unit comes on.
Yeah, Smith kind of sat down on his route right around that first down marker. The ball was thrown a little short. He had to come back to it to ensure that no defender was going to jump in front of him. Edmonton closing to make the tackle, leaving him well short of the first down.
The left-footed Aussie punter Nick Constantino in his first year. The Ticats, and the flags come out for no yards on that return by Luches Purifoy up at the Edmonton 25. They'll tack on more now as we get closer to the 3-minute warning. And a comfortable lead right now anyway for McLeod Bethel Thompson.
No yards. Hamilton number 42. 15-yard penalty. First down.
And the Edmonton Elks, Bethel Thompson started the first 7 games, and they lost them all, even though he had some excellent games in there. They just couldn't win some close ones. Trey Ford took over. They won a couple, but with Ford injured last week, and he helped off the bench, Dwayne, against BC, get their 2nd win of the season.
Yeah, certainly did. McLeod Bethel Thompson. You know, we talked about Bo Levi Mitchell, veteran guys being a pro. Sometimes part of the business, right, where you have to give up some playing time, give someone else an opportunity for whatever reason, allowing the team to try and have a different look and get back on track. But you always got to be ready to go back in. You can't sort of burn that bridge or close that door. And both those guys have done a good job of that thus far.
And obviously the records do stand out with Ford 2-0, and Bethel Thompson as a starter did not get a win. But we saw a game that McLeod Bethel Thompson played going back to Toronto against his old team back in week 3, I believe, and he was outstanding. That was his best game of the season, and they lost in a walk-off field goal, as they did a few days later in BC.
Yeah, and I think much of the assessment through at least about their first 5 games of the season was that quarterbacking wasn't their issue. There were a lot of reasons why they were losing. Quarterback play wasn't necessarily one of them, but the team needed a jump start of some kind, and
they certainly got one.
Yeah, Trey Ford has provided that. There's no question. McLeod Bethel Thompson, since last week, doing a pretty good job of keeping that momentum going.
From the Edmonton 33, last play before the warning, and Rankin initially runs into a wall. He bounces off of it, and he picks up a couple of yards anyway. A couple more for him, and a very impressive night. In his 3rd CFL start, Justin Rankin has a couple of touchdowns. 3 minutes away till halftime, and the Elks are certainly in charge.
I'm coming up. We're going to give a lot of love to this Elks offense under MBT. What do the Hamilton Tiger Cats need to do in this game? And I don't know if anyone's heard, but a guy named Nathan Rourke is coming back tomorrow.
Who?
He's a quarterback. I'll tell you at halftime.
BC Lions, Winnipeg. Thank you, Kate. Forward to hearing comments from you and the panel, and looking ahead to tomorrow, BC Place and the return of Nathan Rourke. For first time since 2022, and that's Rankin again, receiving in and taken down there by DQ Thomas. So we're late in the half, and the third down coming up here for the Elks. McLeod Bethel Thompson getting the start because of last week's injury to Trey Ford, and Bo Levi Mitchell in at quarterback for the Ticats after Taylor Powell, getting his first start of the season after taking over last week, was injured, like a head injury, and went first into the tent, then was taken off. And so it's Mitchell back running the Tiger Cats offense. Been able to move the ball, but not cash in, and they only have 3 on the board. 22-3 the score. They will get it back, though, with some time. But 2.5 minutes left until the half. Jonathan Moxey, he's been on the returns tonight inside the 10. Covered well. Ball comes out. Joel DeBlanco's on it. And another turnover as Edmonton, they'll be the ones that have the chance to find the end zone before halftime and see if they can add to their lead. That kind of night again for Scott Milanovich. The rookie DeBlanco, the first pick taken in the draft, is the one who comes up with it.
Yeah, rookie linebacker from University of Cincinnati, dual Canadian-American citizen, coming up with a big play there on teams. He's looking for a little kickstart to his rookie season as well. This guy was absolutely fantastic at the Combine, and spent some time National Football League camps, XFL as well.
Spotted down at the 11. Bethel Thompson goes to work to the end zone for Lewis, all tied up with Richard Leonard. Two of them were toe-to-toe as the ball headed Lewis's way. That's incomplete. Second down coming up at the Hamilton 11.
Yeah, this is a nice battle between a couple of veteran players. Out to the right side, Lewis versus Richard Leonard. Veteran Leonard on the corner doing a good job, again, maintaining position, getting a hand free to make a play on the ball. McLeod Bethel Thompson suggesting he could put that one in a better place for Eugene Lewis to make a play on a smaller DB. Want to get it up high.
Still another chance to find the end zone. 2:10 on the clock. Hamilton 11. There it is! Touchdown Elks. Dylan Mitchell has it. That's his second touchdown of the season, and Edmonton is really pouring it on. He was wide open just inside the goal line. Another touchdown pass for McLeod Bethel Thompson.
And nice read, nice execution there from Macbeth. Got Mitchell taking the middle, gets his head around, ball's on route. Grabbing it for the touchdown before the defender Moxey has a chance to make a play on it.
And Bethel Thompson, the Elks offense, benefiting from that great field position on special teams. On the fumble by Jonathan Moxey, recovered by DeBlanco, and they had only 11 yards they needed to get in, and they do in their second try. Dylan Mitchell out of Oregon comes up with a touchdown, and that is Jonathan Moxey.
And you just consider the compounding of problems here. A couple injuries already, obviously, for the Hamilton Tiger Cats in this game. Moxey stripped of that football as the return man. Not really a familiar position for him as far as his Canadian Football League career. But with Smoke Harris down, he's taking on those additional duties. Comes up to try and make a hit on Mitchell. Looked like maybe his shoulder that he injured on the play, but so now this means they're going to go further down the depth chart in terms of finding someone to look after returns, let alone the nickel linebacker spot if he's out for any extended period.
Well, you recall, I mean, that's been a frustration for Scott Milanovich, the return game in particular, about their special teams. And you recall a couple of days ago, we were under the impression it'd be Tim White on those returns, but instead Moxey, and it's been an ongoing process. Lawrence Wood started the season, and Milanovich ended up making that change, and they brought in Smoke Harris, and yet another injury too. Just an awful night. The biggest concern, of course, Luther Hakunavanu, injured at the start of the game and taken off in an ambulance to Hamilton General Hospital. Boris Beatty. Edmonton drives. Touchdown, 2 and out. Touchdown, 2 and out. Touchdown, 2 and out. Touchdown.
So the good news if you're a Hamilton fan.
Yeah, 2 and out next time. Kate Burness, Davis Sanchez, Matt Dunnigan, Enoch Mwamba. You heard them all talking about, as you did, the difficult circumstances for both of these teams coming back on the field after a delay right at the start of the game of over 35 minutes, and had to get focused and play again. So, you know, an understandable turnover at the start and that devastating hit on Hakunavanna, but still the bottom line overall as a team, that has been a big problem for the Ticats, ball security, and it's leading to Edmonton points.
Yeah, and you look, you know, we talk all the time about complementary football, and you know, one of the elements of that I think sometimes gets overlooked is asking one of your three phases to do certain things based on what the strengths and weaknesses of the other two phases are. And this is part of the challenge in Hamilton, is there are a lot of new faces for them on defense. They're not especially strong on special teams, and that impacts the offense and what the offense is asked to do. And basically part of the deal is the offense trying not to put the defense in tough situations, but also having to fight an uphill battle sometimes in terms of field position because they're inexperienced on special teams as well.
Well, it's Tim White on that return. I mentioned Taylor Powell got hurt on this play back in the first quarter. Hit hard. You see the helmet coming in, and Powell had walked off the field, and we got an update now from Matthew.
Rod, Taylor Powell has now also been taken to a local Hamilton hospital. I'm hearing it's for precautionary reasons. About 5 minutes left in the second quarter. I did see another stretcher go behind Edmonton's bench and then to Hamilton's locker room. Again, it's precautionary reasons, and obviously, given what happened to Luther Hakunavanna earlier in the game, it's understandable. Rod.
Absolutely, Matthew. Thank you for the update. There's Bo Levi Mitchell late in the half, under 2 minutes. He's throwing it high for Stephen Dunbar, but my goodness, and you know, the same sentiments we said about Luther Hakunavanna. Hopefully everything's okay with Taylor Powell, who walked off on his own and seemed clearly frustrated when they took his helmet away.
Yeah, but nonetheless took a heck of a shot there from Niles Morgan, as you saw on that play. They're concerned for a couple of young Ticats here today.
The health of the players, obviously, the #1 concerns. But on the field, too, just keeping it to football, a big concern with the way things are going for the Ticats now. That went over Keandre Smith, and the fans are letting them hear it. And just, as I say, just strictly in football terms, this is the second straight week. Things have gone so wrong for the Ticats, who are trailing this one by 26 points with the halftime looming.
Yeah, it's digging themselves into these holes early, and it's so hard to find your way out, quite frankly. Those points off turnovers are particularly hard to overcome.
And even when it looked for a while, when Mitchell came in, that it was going right, the big catch by Bell going down. They're down in the red zone, and it goes through his hands. It's intercepted. They get nothing for it. The story of the Hamilton Tiger Cats, and on the punt inside the Ticat zone, flags coming out too. Gavin Cobb has it, but you're going to tack on more there.
They're in field goal range already.
Already they are. They have a chance to get more. So 137.
Hamilton number 24, 15-yard penalty, first down.
They flagged rookie Robert Panabaker in there, and the no yards after that punt by Constantino. So 137 on the clock, and you add that yardage, and it's down to the 37 of the Ticats now. And you look at the penalties. Nothing against Edmonton. 7 for 62. We're not even through till halftime yet against Hamilton.
Just tilting the field.
And consider this: 3 weeks ago at Commonwealth in Edmonton, Hamilton won it going away. They dominated 44-28. In fact, when the quarterback change was made, Trey Ford came on, and 3 touchdown passes relieved McLeod Bethel Thompson and made the score look more respectable. Much different story tonight. Bethel Thompson rolling to his right, and it's caught. Gino Lewis down closer to the 20.
Like the execution on this play, essentially back going to the flat to pull coverage out wide on the right side. Gino Lewis is working all the way across the formation. It's opening up the window for him. He sort of becomes this forgotten man coming from backside to front side into that open window.
In his second year with the Elks after some stellar seasons with the Montreal Alouettes. Rankin, he's had a big first half for Edmonton. 1:07 on the clock until halftime. We'll hear a lot from the panel back in the studio. Yeah, Rankin 9 carries for 73 yards and a couple of touchdowns.
Edmonton came into this football game looking to run the football. They have certainly done that. Some degree of success in the early going.
2nd and 10. Certainly in field goal range, looking for another touchdown. Pressure on Bethel Thompson. He didn't see it coming from behind. As he's sacked, Stavros Katsantonis, the safety, coming in, and he gets to Bethel Thompson there. 45 seconds to go.
See Katsantonis up at the top of your screen. He's looping inside. Rankin picks him up initially, but as Macbeth is forced out of the pocket, Katsantonis is able to redirect and get to him.
He got there, and Kyle Wilson as well. Linebacker helping out on that sack of Bethel Thompson. So here comes Boris Beatty now to add to the Ticats' misery in this one. Coming in 16-22, and he puts that through for 3 more on the board, and a 32-3 lead for the Edmonton Elks.
That ball, a valuable commodity.
From Boris Beatty, he was 3 for 4 last week, but coming in and just 72.7% of his field goals made for Beatty. It's been a rougher year after being the #1 kicker in terms of accuracy last year when he was with the Argos, signing on as a free agent. Keandre Smith in motion late in the half and handing off Greg Bell. The most productive half of the Ticats players picks up another carry there. Just 17 seconds though on the clock. Hey, they still do have time. One big play, they can get it in range for Mark Leggio to see if they can get that 3 points back.
Well, yeah, it's a long climb, but you got to start somewhere and want to see if you can end this half with something positive going into the room.
Bo Levi Mitchell threw 5 touchdown passes 3 weeks ago in that game in Edmonton, by the way. You're going to need a lot of that in the second half. That's caught by Bell. 4 seconds. Close enough to give it a try. I get it down to, now it would take about a 58-yarder. So just,
yeah, against the wind.
Yeah, and then you got to be mindful, just as we saw last night in Saskatchewan, James Letcher taking a missed field goal all the way back for an Alouette touchdown.
Quads into the boundary, probably thinking Hail Mary here.
For Mitchell, who steps up, steps out, throws it deep. Deep look in a crowd, and it falls down incomplete with no time left in the first half. And among the many stories, as said, in terms of what happened in football terms, we had those injuries that were so concerning. Hako Navano, that as he was taken away, delayed the game. But when they got going, so did Justin Rankin. What a performance he had in the first half.
Yeah, very impressive, getting a few extra touches with Javon Leake appearing to be nicked up a little bit. Justin Rankin absolutely making the most of that opportunity. Shown explosiveness and power in the run game. It's been an absolute force so far, and he is now down on the sidelines with our map board in this football game.
Bo Levi Mitchell in at quarterback since that first quarter injury to Taylor Powell. Mitchell's 8 of 14, 121 yards. It started well for him. They drove down quickly, but it led to a turnover. And now here we are. They have the ball. And on that return is Jonathan Moxey. So good to see him back in. He was hurt in the first half. But back comes Mitchell. As mentioned, he had 5 touchdown passes against the Edmonton Elks just 3 weeks ago. But they're going to need something like that to get back in this ball game.
Yeah, they sure will. A big play from somewhere.
From the Hamilton 34. And a 1st and 10. Mitchell and the Ticats. And deep down the middle, nearly intercepted too off the fingertips of Dunbar. And Luchez Purifoy among the Elks defenders there as he wags the finger. Also Cordell Jackson in on that coverage.
Yeah, Dunbar taking the middle here. Great coverage on the play from Purifoy. Again, this is the Cats being a little more aggressive than what is their game plan, because they have to based on the score in this football game.
29 points behind. 2nd and 10. 3 receivers to the right. Mitchell is looking that way and throws and completes it to Dunbar. And he tries to work his way up closer with Derek Moncrief having him wrapped around the ankles. Not quite a 1st down. Dunbar, 1 year away from Hamilton, as mentioned, with the Elks last year.
Yeah, the Elks really went out last year looking to sort of bulk up their receiving core, bringing in Gino Lewis as well as Stephen Dunbar.
And he had a fun return to Hamilton 1 year ago today with the Elks. In that weather-delayed game, he scored 2 touchdowns against his old club, and then back in black and gold this year. From the 43 and a 3rd down and 1, it's Greg Bell in the carry, and he does have a 1st down up across the 45-yard line early here in the 2nd half. 2-2-7 teams, and one of them is looking a lot more like a winning team right now compared to the Ticats are.
Yeah, Edmonton momentum certainly going in one direction, having won their previous 2 games. Hamilton coming off back-to-back losses to Montreal. Just trying to get things back on track here.
Ticats at the 45. 1st down. Mitchell, time to the right, and tied up again and wanting a flag is Giovanni Robinson. Darius Bratton was with him and tied up, and Robinson can't believe it. Said he had his jersey tugged. There is no flag on the play.
From our vantage point, I'm a little surprised not to see a flag on that one as well, as the defender appeared to be tied up with Robinson well before the ball arrived.
Hamilton is challenging that there was defensive pass interference on the play. We'll review the play.
As you heard, Milanovic has thrown his challenge flag on this one.
Yeah, again, initial reaction there you see Darius Bratton kind of pulling on Giovanni Robinson. In my opinion, clearly before the ball got there.
Now, as we've been saying this week, in light of recent events, last week a tough one for the CFL officiating
caller
command center, but they're only going to be overturning things that are just really egregious. You're not going to see the overturns on things that at game speed you can't tell if it's PI or not, but on something like this where it does seem to be a little more obvious, you can see the hand on the jersey. The challenge from Milanovic coming out here. Command center does get involved, and we'll see what they decide. As we've seen some that are really hard to tell, but this one does look a little more obvious.
Yeah.
Darius Bratton. No flag thrown, but a challenge by the Ticats. Was this pass interference?
After review by the command center, we have pass interference. Edmonton number 24. Spot of the foul, automatic, 1st down.
I don't think anyone can take issue with the command center on that decision after you look at it again on replay. So Robinson, the intended target. It's PI against Edmonton. It goes down to the Elks' 47-yard line, and a 1st down for Milanovic's Tiger Cats.
Take the big plays however they come at this point for Hamilton.
The first penalty against the Edmonton Elks on the night, and it's a big one for Hamilton. Faking the handoff to Greg Bell. Open receiver 2. The slant coming in is Bridges. And Bridges has it down to about the 25, and another first down for the Ticats.
Yeah, you get a great run look here. Watch Brandon Revenberg on the pull. Leading Bell in that direction, getting some flow from the defense to open up the backside. Slant for Shamar Bridges.
His second catch for 25 yards. 22-yard pickup. Down to the 25. Ticats need a whole lot of touchdowns, one at a time. Early second half. Taking the handoff, rolling to the right, complete again. That's Dunbar with the catch. That's another first down, and an impressive start to the second half for the offense of the Ticats, getting it down around the Edmonton 10.
Cats continuing to capitalize on a little bit of momentum from that first Edmonton penalty of the ball game. Nice effort there after the catch from Stephen Dunbar.
Dunbar, 3 catches on 8 targets for 29 yards. That's 15 he picked up there, and gets it down to the 10. Jason Shivers, the assistant head coach and defensive coordinator for Edmonton. They're being tested right now on D. A first and goal for the Tiger Cats, looking for their first touchdown of this game. Little pump fake to the left. Flag is out as Mitchell throws into the end zone. It's incomplete. He had some time on the move, and then you saw that flag thrown behind him in the Tiger Cats backfield. And another flag thrown in the Elks secondary.
We have a flag on each team on the play. We have holding, Hamilton, and illegal contact, Edmonton. We'll replay the play.
So the penalties cancel each other out.
Take a look at the line of scrimmage first. Elliott Brown goes inside on Jordan Murray, the left tackle. Gets held up. That's the first flag. And we'll see Kai Gray in coverage on Shamar Bridges. I think the flag went against Gray, although it appeared to be Nick Anderson who delivered the contact.
So again, first and goal from the 10. It's caught at the 5, and then down to about the 2.5 yard line on that play. Keandre Smith, he was open. Mitchell got it to him, and a second and goal coming up as the Ticats get that much closer.
Yeah, quick hitter here. Couple of receivers, as you see, very close proximity. Not sure that's quite how they drew it up. Nonetheless, positive play for the Cats.
Taking the opening kickoff to start the second half and marching it down to the Edmonton 2. It is a second and goal. 29 points behind the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Handing off, touchdown. First touchdown of the night for the Ticats. And it is Greg Bell getting his second start as a Ticat, in for James Butler, who's injured, then off, and cheering them on right now is Bell finds pay dirt. As said, the only way they can look at it right now is one at a time.
Yeah, great way to start the half for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Greg Bell punching it in after a pretty good looking drive from Bo Levi Mitchell in the Cats offense.
And so that makes it 32-9. And they will be going for 2. Pick up as many points as they can and close this gap. It's after a 9-play, 76-yard drive to open up the second half, and we're now for 5 minutes taken off the clock. This trying to get it to 32-11. Lots of time, still lots of time. And no, intended for Bridges. Shamar Bridges can't get it. Coverage is there. It sails high. So 32-9, and still 23 points the lead. They were trying to get it down to 21 after that touchdown by Greg Bell. Nonetheless, a better start to the half for the Ticats.
Well, the Hamilton Tiger Cats start the second half in much better fashion than they did the first. Little boost on a PI call against Darius Bratton. They take advantage Quick slant to Shamar Bridges for a first down. Bill Mitchell finding Stephen Dunbar. DeAndre Smith then sets him up close, allowing Greg Bell to punch this one in for Hamilton's first major of the evening.
So Mark Leggio, after the Bell touchdown, will kick it off. The one returner back there is Luchez Purifoy. At the 20, he takes it. Purifoy up across the 30, and a late flag coming out there. McLeod Bethel Thompson, 11 for 15. 159 yards passing, also thrown for a touchdown, and 2 TDs scored by Justin Rankin as well. The Elks still with a big lead even after the Hamilton touchdown. The Edmonton Elks still with a 23-point lead here early in the second half. They're getting set for their first possession after Hamilton took the ball to start the half, drove down the field, took about 5 minutes off the clock, and they finally got into the end zone. But the Elks have been in charge. An excellent first half when they outscored Hamilton by 29 points, looking for their 3rd straight win.
And we'll see how the Elks respond here. We think about Hamilton's first scoring drive in the first half. Edmonton bounced right back. A couple big plays.
They've run the ball well, and this guy's been running well. Justin Rankin breaks a tackle, and he picks up more yardage up near the 34. Justin Rankin, with the injury to Kevin Brown, getting more of a chance to show what he could do. 3rd CFL game with the Elks, and he's having an excellent time there. 73 yards on the ground, a couple of touchdowns. Now 91 yards on this play.
Yeah, Elks doing a good job getting this one blocked up. Saw the safety Katsantonis up in the line of scrimmage, leaving Hamilton maybe a little thin at 2nd and 3rd levels as Rankin turned that one north-south.
Justin Rankin, who played last year in the Arena League, as mentioned, was cut in training camp and brought back in, and has the ball again, and off to the right, little stiff arm does there, and Jamal Peters, who is certainly no shrinking violet, a big defender and a talented one too, is Peters, and Rankin pushes him away and picks up a few more.
Thank you. Yeah, Rankin's strength has been quite apparent here on a few plays today, kind of tossing defenders off. I'm gonna date myself, but it reminds me of the old Nintendo video game Super Tecmo Bowl.
There you go.
Where the best running back players would just bounce off of them.
Got his own video game going in this one tonight, Justin Rankin. That's quickly over the middle and complete up around the 50, and yeah, it's another first down and more. 5 yards past that. Caught there by Curly Gibbs.
Reed there with a blitz coming, quick release from the veteran Bethel Thompson. Move the sticks.
Well, I mentioned Rankin getting into the lineup because of the injury to Kevin Brown, and now the feature running back with the injury to Javon Leake, who's not going to be back. The scrimmaging 1st and 10 from the Edmonton 51, and Rankin is getting a lot of work. And Javon Leake had become a key part of that offense. Dwayne has mentioned, initially signed on as a free agent because of his special teams prowess as the top returner in the CFL a year ago when he was with the Argos. But look at what he's been able to do and done for the night.
Yeah, and Leake is the guy who kind of set the tone, got this run game started for Edmonton. Just committed to looking at making that a strength. And you see it is carried forward with Rankin now picking up the load.
2nd and 8 after just 2 for Rankin. Throwing for Lewis, and Peters is there. And that one falling incomplete on that coverage, and a 3rd down coming up, and defense gave up a couple of first downs, but they've ultimately done their job as they're going to be getting the ball back for their offense. Edmonton forced a punt.
Yeah, important stop as far as maintaining that momentum, but obviously, you know, if the defense can't get stops and you're just going to trade scoring drives, that doesn't really work out in the favor of the team trailing.
Edmonton is challenging that there was defensive pass interference on the play. We'll review the play.
Well, they've had to review one before. The command center had to look at one on Giovanni Robinson, on Darius Bratton and his coverage on Robinson, and that was an obvious PI. And that was earlier on the Ticats touchdown drive. And this time, on that coverage by Jamal Peters on Eugene Lewis, the challenge flag has been thrown by Jarius Jackson. So the command center will take a look at that. Is that PI? We'll be back in a moment. CFL says command center won't overturn pass interference unless it's obvious. Have another look at this one.
And there you go. That's in slow motion and still looks pretty good. I don't see this one getting overturned.
So here is the decision.
After review, the ruling on the field stands. Edmonton will be charged a timeout. Be third down.
So the message was out. If there's anything that you have to slow it down to see if contact was first, as opposed to, watching at game speed, live speed, and it doesn't look like it, they're not going to overturn or consider that pass interference.
Yeah, I mean, the game's not played in slow motion. You can't officiate it in slow motion. To me, it has always been as simple as that.
Tim White, the lone returner back for the Ticats. So White in the return game now, shy of the 15, flags out for no yards, and Kai Gray as he gets up around the 20, so we'll add on some yardage on the no yards.
Then I heard Vermont finished the season of the sticks, and I saw your mom, she forgot that I existed, and it's half my fault, but I just like to play the victim. I'll drink alcohol till my friends come home from prison.
Back at Tim Hortons Field, second half, it's been all Elks, or mostly. Ticats finally getting a touchdown in their last possession, but they have a little bit of momentum going here to start the second half. They took the ball to start the half, went down for a touchdown, failed to get the 2-point conversion. The defense ultimately doing its job and forcing Edmonton to punt it away. So they begin at the 29, but still down 23 points. Faking the handoff to Bell. Mitchell, deep look to the left. It's caught by Shamar Bridges. Another big strike. Every little bit helps. The Hamilton team that's just trying to play it one possession at a time. A big first down into the Elk zone.
And Shamar Bridges is going to get a step in behind Kai Gray. Great release off the line. Bo Mitchell reads it immediately. Beautifully placed ball. The big play for the Ticats.
Gain of 40. That's the biggest one for Shamar Bridges in this one tonight. Their leading receiver coming in. He has 3 catches now for 65 yards. Mitchell with time again to the left. It's caught by Bridges again at the 35. So picks up a few and fights off Gray to get a couple more yards after that. And a second and short is coming up. He's been quite a story. One of the top rookies really we've seen so far.
And that's his pace so far. 56 grabs through 9 games. Pretty impressive company. Love some of the old school logos.
Yeah, I'm sure Matty likes seeing that. The old Birmingham Barracudas in there too. Greg Bell again, and upended, but a flag comes out, taken down by Cordell Jackson.
Holding, Hamilton number 60, 10-yard penalty, repeat second down.
But the right tackle, Quentin Barrow, is flagged for the hold, so that negates that gain by Bell.
You see the right tackle Barrow working against defensive end Elliott Brown just to his left, to the left on your screen. You see as Bell bounces that one outside. Brown unable to free himself from the grip. Thus the flag.
So a 2nd and 13 now at the Edmonton 44. Second possession of the second half for the Ticats. Pump fake, deep look. In double coverage, it's intercepted by Cordell Jackson. That coverage was there for the Elks, and he's got a good return here too. So another turnover committed by the Ticats, snuffing out another promising drive that got into the Edmonton zone, but a good return out of the end zone by Jackson. They'll scrimmage from the 25. Mitchell. Now they had something going, but Moncrief was there looking for Keandre Smith. It's taken by Jackson with the pick. Edmonton 23-point lead, and they got the ball. What a great player Armando Sewell was. Defensive lineman, starting his career with Edmonton, did a whole lot of that, and of course he later went to the Montreal Alouettes, capped it off right here with a Grey Cup victory last year, and now it's Mondo the coach. Let's go down to Matthew.
I always wonder how the great players do coach, Rob. When you consider the 167 games, 69 sacks, 6 All-Stars, and 2 Grey Cup champions that Armando Sewell has. And speaking to Noah Curtis this week, he talked to us about the perspective and the quiet reassurance that Armando Sewell gives his players. That was Armando Sewell when he was a player. And speaking to him before the game, he says, yeah, I get intense when the game starts, but when it comes to film study, well, I just let the film do the work. And he credited coaches that he had, like Casey Crehan, who was the defensive coach a long time in Edmonton. Also, Demetrius Maxey, the defensive line coach in Edmonton as well. But it's always just coolness with Armando Sewell. But he says, listen, when I got to get on my guys, I will. Rod?
Ate up a lot of double teams in his career, too, Matthew. Mentioned that 2 Grey Cups last year with the Alouettes, but of course 2015 on a defensive line that included the likes of Willie Jefferson when Edmonton beat Ottawa in the Grey Cup game.
Yeah, impressive groups. I think pretty well any D-line that Armando Sewell was part of was going to be impressive. Always terrific, leading by example. A lot of people view him as a run stopper, but established himself as one of the top interior pass rushers for much of his career as well.
It didn't, as a player, necessarily end well when he left Edmonton for Montreal, but Edmonton was always home, and it's great to see that he came back and coaching now with the Elks. That's thrown up to the 30 now. After the interception, the 3rd one of the season by Cordell Jackson, by the way, but that's Dylan Mitchell with another catch, but it's 3rd down coming up here for Edmonton.
An opportunity here perhaps for Hamilton to get decent field position. And Tim White back to return now. Jonathan Moxey had started the game in that role with Smoke Harris out of the lineup. Moxey banged up a shoulder.
As you can see, ruled an incomplete pass on that attempt to Mitchell, so the 3rd down and long. So despite the pick, Hamilton, and a short punt by Jake Julian, the top punter in the league, but that one kind of gets away and out of bounds, as it's just around the 50 of the Ticats, so a pretty good place to start, all things considered here. Kylian Mbappe set to make his La Liga debut as Real Madrid takes on Mallorca. That's tomorrow, 3 Eastern, noon Pacific on TSN. Mbappe.
Just rolls off your tongue.
It does. What a player. Bo Levi Mitchell. Quick strike to Shamar Bridges' last drive, but snuffed out by a turnover. Hamilton 50. Ticats can move the ball, but well, he has to throw it away. Noah Taylor was just bearing right down on Mitchell, who had to rush that throw. Incomplete, 2nd down.
Get a look at Noah Taylor coming off the edge. Long, lean defensive end. Nice little shoulder dip there. Get underneath the block.
The rookie out of North Carolina. Virginia before that, and just saw 17 sacks in his college career. 2nd down and 10. Mitchell. Oh, he finds an open receiver. It's Keandre Smith again. And a 1st down at the Edmonton 40. Getting late in the 3rd quarter. 3 minutes left in it. The Ticats moving again.
Yeah, Keandre Smith working from the slot. Just curls into open space again. Nice job getting himself out of harm's way after securing the catch. Just great awareness of where the defenders are, preparing to avoid that hit.
His 6th catch of the night. Back to Bell on the ground. And another impressive performance as he carries that one down inside the 30. That's another 1st down on the ground for Greg Bell, filling in for James Butler.
We see a little bit of the burst there from Greg Bell.
He has 9 carries for 68 yards and a touchdown. The longest to 27. That one gets it to the Edmonton 29 quickly. Off to Tim White inside the 30. 25, and he's upended there, and a flag comes out. Jackson had knocked him down. You see the flag coming out behind them right after Tim White hit the turf.
Yeah, they had a couple other receivers set up in front of him to block on that screen.
Hamilton, number 85. 10-yard penalty. Repeat. First down.
Yeah, Keandre Smith among the escorts for Tim Brown on this play. And here you'll see the hold as White catches the ball. You see that left hand on the back of the shoulder pads.
Working there on Darius Bratton. So 1st and 20. Clock keeps ticking. 140 and down. Still a 23-point game. White. Oh, he got around the edge for a moment, then he slipped just as Leon O'Neal was coming in. So he does get it back inside the 30. So they make up the penalty yards and some, but it's still going to be a 2nd and long.
There's Tim White lined up as the number 3 receiver on the play. Nobody there, so he just sits down, take the easy completion. Looked like he wanted to try and cut that one back, let O'Neal overrun it, but just blew a tire.
They pick up 11, a 2nd and 9 at the Edmonton 28. Under a minute to go until 3/4 time. It's complete to White again. He turns around, he gets away, and he's still going down inside the 15. Great work after the catch for Tim White, who could have been wrapped up outside the 20. Making something happen there as the Ticats get closer.
Yeah, you gotta love the fight the Hamilton Tiger Cats are putting up here. Chipping away, still an uphill climb on the scoreboard, but some positives for head coach Scott Milanovic here in the second half.
That was Nick Anderson, who had him wrapped around the ankles but couldn't hang on. So a little pump fake. White again to the left. Shamar Bridges at the 10. And inside, Bridges works it down. Not a first down, but a lot closer. 2nd and short coming up here as they are inside the 10. They're down to about the 7-yard line. Clock ticking in 3/4 time, and we got sounds like a fire alarm going on here at Tim Hortons Field. A hot and hazy night. Had rain earlier. There had been a slight chance of a thunderstorm. Thankfully, we haven't seen that. No rain coming down. It was a big storm a year ago on this day between these two teams that delayed the game by 90 minutes. The throw, touchdown. Bell again. Much needed. Major score, Hamilton, to end the 3rd quarter and get it a little bit closer heading into the 4th.
That one will mean a lot for Bell, who down in this part of the field earlier had a pass glance off his hands into the waiting arms of an Edmonton defender. Elks turned that turnover into a 106-yard drive for a major of their own. A little bit of redemption here for the Ticats running back.
Now it's 32-15. Last time they went for 2, and this time wisely going for 1. Because if you can get it to a 16-point game, Mark Leggio does, it is 2 possessions. So 16-point difference now at 32-16. The Elks still in control, but when it was a 29-point lead, the Ticats have at least been closing the gap in the 3rd quarter, despite that interception in the end zone. For all sorts of reasons, it's been a very difficult night for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. But say this, they're not quitting. They were down 29, and they owned the 3rd quarter, Dwayne, scoring 13 unanswered points. Now a 16-point difference. Edmonton still in front.
Yeah, and we know often games here at Tim Hortons Field, the win can be quite a factor. The coin toss often deciding outcomes. Edmonton's going to have that win in the 4th quarter, so it's going to be interesting to see how Hamilton, trying to continue their uphill climb, manages to close this gap.
Well, they took the ball to start the second half. They marched it down for a touchdown. They didn't get the 2-point convert. But then they ended the quarter with a touchdown, and they took the 1-point conversion to make it a 32-16 game. And Greg Bell, we talked a lot about Justin Rankin of the Elks and the night he's having, over 100 yards rushing. But Greg Bell is 68 on the ground. He scored a touchdown. He also had a big reception. 68 on the ground, 85 through the air, and a touchdown for Greg Bell. So newer running backs making quite an impression in the CFL on this night. Dylan Mitchell on the return. So the defense ultimately forcing Edmonton to punt the last time around. McLeod Bethel Thompson comes out. A comfortable lead at halftime. They had 32 on the board. They have not added a point since then as they start the fourth quarter with the football.
McLeod Bethel Thompson may need a little bit of a warm-up here as he starts this fourth quarter. Elks only had possession for about 4 minutes of the third.
It is up at the 43 to start for Edmonton. The Elks trying to hang on and win their third straight, something they have not done since 2018. Get back in the race in the West too after the 0-7 start. Well, there's Rankin. He's going nowhere that time. Justin Rankin has had just a great night, and that's his 14th carries, over 100 yards rushing, and does have a couple of touchdowns in his third CFL game.
Not one of the rare times that we have seen Justin Rankin held to just a short game. Terrific performance. See Hamilton defensive coordinator Mark Washington.
Early fourth, but still a big second down for the Ticats defense, and a 2nd and 8. Bethel Thompson throwing, and it's bobbled and dropped. A good coverage there by Destin Talbert on Hergy Mayala. And he can't hang on to the football, and it's a punting situation coming up here. So the defense once again doing his job as the momentum continues to swing.
Yeah, pretty good timing on this quick out by Mayala. Well-timed throw from Bethel Thompson. But all of that trumped by the terrific coverage of Destin Talbert.
And that was the first target of the night for Hergy Mayala. And so back goes Tim White. And you can feel a swing in momentum here. Still a long way to go for the Ticats, but as said, they're looking at just one at a time here, trying to crawl their way back from being 29 down. 16-point difference, and they're about to get the ball again for the first time in the fourth quarter. It's dropped by White. Unfortunately for him, he can pick it up. And that was with Tevin Jones very close by. So out it goes, and it is Hamilton football.
Look at some of tonight's body of work from Ticats running back Greg Bell. Getting it done on the ground and through the air. If they're going to continue this comeback, he'll be a
Hamilton
significant
number
part of it.
98. We have first down.
And the rookie Luke Brubaker has called a misconduct foul against him that'll push the Ticats back. Looking at a really long field now inside their 10 to start this drive.
And we've seen the misconducts create some roster challenges for a couple of teams in recent weeks. Hamilton ended up with Casey Sales playing O-line in Montreal last week. Before that, it was Ottawa left without a running back.
Bell to the 10. He gets it up. He picks up about 5 yards. Gets it up around the 15. Just a little bit shy of that. A big second down coming up for that offense for a couple of reasons. Obviously being behind, but also field position, Dwayne.
A big challenge made that much bigger for the Tiger Cats.
Going against the wind. They can't convert here. Might be punting from around their end zone. Mitchell. It's caught. It's Keandre Smith up across the 20. Big first down, Hamilton, as this drive will continue.
So Hamilton. Another big play from Keandre Smith, who's been very reliable target, whether it's been for Bo Mitchell or Taylor Powell.
Still plenty of time, over 12 minutes, but these Ticats drives have taken a lot of time off the clock. Play action fake and plenty of time for Mitchell, who just puts it out to the open receiver, and the ball goes down on the turf. It's Felix Garangoche, who does have the catch. Scooped up the ball after catching it and then coughing it up.
Yeah, Edmonton sitting back a little bit. They'll give up the underneath stuff. Long throw out to the wide side. Cordell Jackson comes up and makes the tackle for a short gain.
So Garangoche does pick up a couple of yards, but it's a 2nd and long. 2nd and 8 at the Hamilton 23. 32-16. Mitchell forced to dump it off to Bell, and he is knocked down shortly after. It's not enough to get any kind of run going after he caught that football, and so Hamilton will have to punt.
Yeah, Edmonton defensive line won that snap.
Big Jamin Pelly in there on the D line. Product of the University of Calgary, and heading off to the sideline after that successful play to force Constantinu in for the Ticats inside the 10. The left-footed Aussie Constantinu on that punt, and the Elks will get it. Dylan Mitchell at the 50, approaching midfield and thrown back around the 50. Carthel Flowers Lloyd, last year's special teams tackles leader, has the ball in his hands as well, but it does belong to Edmonton on this night in Hamilton in a 16-point Elks lead. Among the many watching tonight, several members of the Niagara Nitro. It's from the Niagara Youth Flag Football League. They sent 9 teams to the provincial championships in Georgetown, Ontario. That was earlier this month, about a week ago, and that had 55 teams. The Nitro won 5 medals in the 7 divisions. They won gold at U12 boys, U16 girls, and U18 boys, silver at U14 girls and U16 girls, and also 2 other teams make it to the semis. Just a great run by the Niagara Nitro. Niagara Youth Flag Football League in attendance tonight. Edmonton football, Justin Rankin spins off, 1 tackle, but he gets wrapped up. Kyle Wilson, the leading tackler for that Tiger Cat defense, comes in and takes him down. And evaluate some of this action Dwayne Ford earlier before the game.
Great to see so many youngsters getting involved in the game of football in its many different forms. You know, I'd like to see a little more ball security there.
Well,
you know, you got to cover up the points, but
you know what I'm thinking?
All kinds of athleticism out there, and they look like they're having a ball.
I think when the studio checks out all this, could it be straight fire coming up next week?
Could be.
You never know. They submit the highlights for another episode of Straight Fire. Niagara Youth Flag Football League. That is caught. Coming back of that hitch is Gino Lewis. Gets it inside the Hamilton 50. And it looks like he does have a first down for the Elks.
And that's a big one, because we're really starting to feel the swing in terms of momentum in Hamilton's favor in this ball game. Giving Justin Rankin much more trouble on the ground than they did in the first half of this ball game. Eugene Lewis, one of the veterans, leader of this team, comes up with a big play there.
Lewis with 5 catches for 93 yards now. 1st and 10 at the Hamilton 47. There's a deep block. Down inside the 20. It is caught. What? Hergy Mayala. With a couple of defenders nearby, Mayala hangs on to that one. Here come the Elks.
Yeah, speaking of straight fire, how about Mayala on this one? This ball looks like it's destined to get picked off as Moxie from his nickel linebacker spot drops in to help out. 2 defenders there just over the fingertips. That's a beauty by the Montreal native, UConn grad.
What a catch by Mayala. Straight fire indeed. Getting the Elks in business down inside the 5. Red zone time, and they still don't have any points in the second half, but a great opportunity to get some now. This diffuses any momentum the Ticats had. Knocking on the door. Back to Rankin, looking for touchdown number 3. Justin Rankin with a night to remember in his 3rd Canadian Football League game with his 3rd touchdown, and all set up by a brilliant catch by that man, Hergy Mayala.
A huge contested catch by Myala. Great concentration. And Justin Rankin has himself a hattie. Nice cut there. Ducking back inside on Kyle Wilson.
A wealth of running backs now. Javon Lee got hurt tonight, so he's out for the rest, but congrats he's given among the rest. And don't forget Kevin Brown, too, one of the top running backs in yardage last year for Edmonton, and it was his injury that caused the Elks to bring back Justin Rankin after they cut him in training camp back in May. So the point after by Beatty, and it's opened up again to a 23-point lead for the Edmonton Elks. McLeod Bethel Thompson. Oh, what a catch. One play later, Rankin right up there. Edmonton in charge again. Niagara Nitro mentioning their attendance, and I can get a little involved in this point after by Boris Beatty, Dwayne.
Little competition for that ball among the kids.
Hey, it's her ball, and they're still going in trying to take it. The souvenir from Boris Beatty and Niagara Nitro. Little gift. And their attendance here at the Tiger Cats game tonight. And Tim White on the return after, oh my goodness, a good hit coming in there. It's Edavamaga Clements out of Nebraska from American Samoa. And on special teams, his first year with the Elks, and he really has a hard hit there on Tim White.
First overall pick in this year's Global Draft, part of the CFL Combine in Winnipeg back in March. Definitely making an impact there on special teams.
Maga Clements. So the tackle has Hamilton scrimmaging at the 30, and they're down once again by 23. They had 13 unanswered in the third quarter, but that touchdown taking some of the momentum away, and then trying to screen it off to Bell, and he was covered. It falls incomplete. It's a 2nd and 10.
Yeah, Sean Oakman was all over that one. The big defensive tackle just attached himself to the running back on that play.
Bo Levi Mitchell initially wouldn't have figured he'd be playing in this game. He was benched early in Montreal last week. Scott Milanovic made it clear going forward. His quarterback is Taylor Powell, but Powell in the first quarter got hurt. Got hit in the helmet and taken to hospital, as we heard from Matthew Shinetti earlier, for a head injury, and caught by Keandre Smith. Of course, just an awful night for the thinking of the health of Tiger Cats players, and in particular, Luther Hakunovanu, who got hurt in the first play from scrimmage and was taken off in an ambulance as well, which caused a 40-minute delay before they could get the game going again. But since they got it going again, it has been all Edmonton, for the most part anyway, minus that third quarter, but still a 3-touchdown lead and then some. 23 points, and the Tiger Cats punting it away. And Dylan Mitchell just watches it as it takes a bounce, and it heads out of bounds. Elks football, though. 39-16. They're in front as Bethel Thompson comes back on. What a matchup to wrap up Week 11 tomorrow. BC Place. Nathan Rourke is back. Zach Caleros, Alex Hollins. See, Kenny Lawler back in the lineup too. Brady Oliveira for Winnipeg. The last game Nathan Rourke played in the CFL was against Winnipeg. It was the 2022 Western Final.
And he came back because he's got unfinished business.
Well, the way that season went, despite the Lisfranc injury, I mean, he played half the season, but the numbers he put up, a lot of excitement, anticipation about the return of Nathan Rourke. That's tomorrow on TSN from Vancouver. Elk football, Elk lead by 23 points. And a little over 6 minutes to go in the fourth quarter as Edmonton is closing in at its third straight victory. Darius Jackson, 2-2 record after taking over as interim head coach from Chris Jones about a month ago.
Settling in, and you know, much like the quarterback situation, sometimes things just need to be shaken up. You know, know, Chris Jones, obviously a very good football coach, guy who's been a Grey Cup champion.
Knocked away at the line of scrimmage on that 2nd down and 6. So punting situation coming up here for Edmonton. Now, yeah, Jones had taken over in 2022 and made a lot of changes, but brought in a lot of good players too. But he did have, especially this year, the frustration of being so close so many times, but just not getting the victory.
Yeah, just not getting over the edge and the feeling that something had to change. But you know, Coach Jones, one of the most creative thinkers in the CFL in a lot of years. I have great appreciation for Chris Jones, but it just wasn't working out in this situation.
No. About to go to 3-2 with Jarius Jackson, heading down to about 5 minutes to go. The punt for Tim White down inside his 5. And off to the left. Finds a bit of an opening as he gets it up across the 25. Olivier Mwembi involved in the special teams tackle. Trey Ford, well documented the influence that he has had. Look at this stat. The Elks are 0-18 without Ford since October of 2022, without Trey Ford making the start. And that is about to change tonight, you have to think, with the lead they have, as Ford couldn't play, and McLeod Bethel-Thompson, who started the season at 0-7, came off the bench and helped with that win last week. But this would be the first time since 2022 that they would win a game with someone other than Trey Ford starting at quarterback.
And Larry Thompson looking to go undefeated.
He will be.
Edmonton Elks owner.
He's closing in on going 1-0, Larry Thompson. And 75 years, the great history of Edmonton in the Canadian Football League, and they now have private ownership with Larry Thompson, a long-time CFL fan, season ticket holder in Edmonton, going back to the Clark Stadium days. That's the 70s and even earlier, and has seen a lot as a fan, and is now the owner of the team, private ownership for the first time for Edmonton in the Canadian Football League. 2nd and 10. Harrison Frost is the quarterback now for Hamilton, the 3rd stringer. And he completes his pass now to Shamar Bridges up at the 45. First down. Harrison Frost.
Good opportunity to get some reps for the young guy. A little bit of experience that may prove valuable down the road. Product of West Georgia.
Getting his first CFL reps now late in this game, 4 minutes to go in the 4th. That's Stephen Dunbar. Good pickup. Ex-teammate Niles Morgan taking Dunbar down just across midfield.
Well, I'm intrigued, as we've talked a little bit in this 4th quarter about obviously Trey Ford with his Edmonton team playing, Nathan Rourke coming back to BC, a couple of very successful Canadian quarterbacks in the CFL. As a draft junkie that I am, a little curious to see how this may impact where Curtis Rourke goes in next year's draft, with quarterbacks now being considered part of the ratio if they are starting, that teams may look to add Canadian depth behind them.
Nice catch by Shamar Bridges with Nick Anderson there. He's favoring his right foot, right ankle, it seems. Looks like he's trying to just jog it off.
Hey. Body up.
It looked like it hurt. Yeah, to your point about Curtis Rourke, though, well taken, and very good college career. Be curious to see the impact, as you say. Nathan Rourke, Trey Ford, and Ford out of the Canadian University system too, playing nearby at Waterloo before going to Edmonton. Drafted a couple of years ago, flag out, late after the catch by Dunbar. Leon O'Neill is questioning the decision.
Pass interference, Edmonton number 32. That penalty be declined. The result of the play is a first down.
So, doesn't matter anyway. They can decline it. The catch was made. 3-minute warning given for the completion. Harrison Frost, with the Elks getting closer to their 3rd straight win. Back here at Tim Hortons Field, Edmonton Elks in charge and about to pick up win number 3 on the season after they lost their first 7 straight. And the way the West Division has gone, don't assume anything. Edmonton can get right back in this race. Stampeders losing this week. Saskatchewan Roughriders losing as well. BC's got a tough one against the Bombers at home tomorrow. And crazy as it sounds, here comes Edmonton to go to 3-7, and they could get themselves. They have a tough one next week in Montreal as Hamilton gets ready to go to Winnipeg next week. But you know, 1 week at a time for the Elks. When it looked like the season was lost, that isn't necessarily so, and it's looking like a different story right now for the team they're playing tonight.
Well, yeah, frustrating run obviously for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. You know, these last couple of weeks in particular, just early mistakes, turnover issues, penalty issues, getting them in trouble. That's tough to overcome.
Harrison Frost, the quarterback for the Ticats, he completes that one to Tim White. White has it down inside the 20.
White, the number 2 receiver out in the slot. Inside leverage, is able to beat him with the break and then take advantage. As the halfback Cordell Jackson overruns him trying to make up ground.
Harrison Frost, first year in the CFL, and his first taste of CFL action tonight. The 3rd string quarterback looks to the end zone, nearly had his first CFL touchdown pass to Shamar Bridges, but Kai Gray is there to break it up.
Kai Gray establishing himself as something of a fixture in his 2nd year as that boundary corner. Gets the arm in there to separate Shamar Bridges from the football.
Getting Frost some experience as Hamilton gets closer to that Edmonton end zone. Facing the heat, and he dishes it off to Bell, Greg Bell. Gets it inside the 15 down to about the 12. 3rd down coming up. Scott Milanovich, this has been tough. First season back as a head coach after some success in Toronto from 2012 to 2016. He'd been away for 7 years. He came back as an offensive consultant to help out Orlando Steinauer last year and really got a chance to work with the quarterbacks this time around as a head coach with Bo Levi Mitchell and Taylor Powell, and making that decision to make the change last week in Montreal. But Powell got hurt tonight, and now Frost is in, tries the end zone again. Touchdown, Shamar Bridges, and the first touchdown pass thrown by young Harrison Frost.
That was a nice escape from the pocket by Frost. Recognizes the rush coming, kind of sucks it in. You see O'Neill coming free on the blitz. Frost ducks outside. Good recognition by Shamar Bridges as his quarterback gets on the move. He takes off out wide for the back of the end zone. Frost lays it in there for the major.
And their leading receiver, Shamar Bridges, who picks up his 4th touchdown in this is rookie season of the Hamilton Tiger Cats, but comes at a point where this is pretty much decided Edmonton's way, and they'll go for 2. See if they can cut it down to 15, which they don't do. That one falls shy of the intended receiver, Keandre Smith. So 39-22, 1:26 on the clock. Academic now for the Edmonton Elks. Quite a different story, as mentioned 3 weeks ago, was Hamilton completely in control in Edmonton.
There's Frost once again with the escape. Shamar Bridges on the route, gets his release and then redirects as he sees Frost scrambling to the outside. And some excitement for the young guy with his first career Canadian Football League touchdown pass.
And this is a game, just as looked like the change at quarterback. They'd settled in with Taylor Powell after Bo Levi Mitchell last week in Montreal, and then Taylor Powell got hurt, a head injury, as we heard earlier, was taken away to hospital after he walked off the field. And congrats to Frost there from Bo Levi Mitchell, who played much of this game, coming off the bench after the injury to Powell. So the short kickoff, you go the other way, try to trick the Elks, but Tevin Smith takes it. He's got a good run coming back here. Smith pushed out right at the 5, or excuse me, Tevin Jones, pardon me. Smith, Jones. Used to get it all the time.
Well, it used to be Tavon Smith in Edmonton.
There you go. Thank you for helping me out. Tevin Jones, pardon me. Tevin Jones with it, and nearly had himself a touchdown.
Heads up play to recognize that he had a lane to the outside. The kickoff return numbers will look good for Tevin Jones after that one.
They certainly will, and his receiving stats have looked very good too. We were talking about this. Tevin Jones was with the Riders before and then get cut by the Alouettes in camp this year, and he has just one catch tonight for 28 yards that helped set up a touchdown. But he's been targeted 10 times and he has 10 catches.
Well, you know, one of the other things that has stood out to me about him, and I tease Milt Stiegel about this all the time, receivers playing special teams. Frankly, a lot of times they don't, outside of being returners. Tevin Jones has come in, again, big body, physical guy, has come in 5 special teams tackles already as well for Tevin Jones, in addition to his contributions on offense.
So it's a 1st and goal. Cloud Bethel Thompson throws another touchdown pass, another TD to Curly Gittins Jr. They've combined a few times this year, and they certainly did in their days together with the Argonauts before that.
Easy one.
But yeah, you heard easy one. That was an easy one for Edmonton, and a night that has just about been easy for them by the looks of things quite a bit at many moments in this game.
You know, and a big night for McLeod Bethel Thompson when you consider the season he's gone through. We've, you know, talked a lot about the frustration, the ordeal for Bo Levi Mitchell here in Hamilton. McLeod Bethel Thompson has gone through a similar kind of thing as a veteran guy in Edmonton this season. It was nice for him to collect his first win as a starter in green and gold.
And as you mentioned, for the owner, we just saw Larry Thompson, his first win, about to go to 1-0 as the owner of the Edmonton Elks. The point after. And by the way, the Elks 6 for 6 in the red zone tonight. Get down close, they've been perfect. And Jarius Jackson about to go over 500, a record of 3-2 as the head coach on an interim basis, at the very least, and liking what they've done so far with Jarius Jackson. And look at this, 3-7, 6 points. Calgary at 8, BC at 10, Saskatchewan 5-4-1 at 11. So things are tighter in that West Division.
Well, they are, and a lot of credit to Jarius Jackson. You see G. Roy Simon down there as well, who's taken over as general manager. You know, tough situation for these guys to come into a team that was struggling, to try and change the mindset here, make a couple adjustments to the roster, and they've done a terrific job in getting their team back in the playoff picture. 2 former BC Lion teammates.
He told me I was down.
As Tim White goes back, and it's just such a different vibe, a different story for the Hamilton Tiger Cats, where the race is not as close in the East Division this year. As the Ticats are falling further behind now, 46-22 in the game, and about to go to a record of 2-8. On top of that East Division, you got the Montreal Alouettes on top of the league standings with that dramatic victory that the Alouettes had last night in Saskatchewan. The Ottawa Red Blacks winning in Calgary, so the top 2 teams in the East Division both winning this week. Toronto had a bye. They're at 5-4, so Hamilton is looking up to those 3 teams. And the closest one, the Argos, at 5-4, are 6 points ahead in the standings. And yeah, that kind of reaction you're getting from fans now at Tim Hortons Field.
And again, a lot of inexperience in the Hamilton roster, and it's come with some growing pains, obviously.
Certainly has. And again, we extend our best wishes and hopes for a full recovery for Luther Hakunavanu, who was hit hard, landed awkwardly, and was hurt to the point that an ambulance came out and they took him off on a stretcher and took him to Hamilton General Hospital. And he had movement in his lower extremities. We saw him move his arm as well. So hoping for the best from Luther Hakunavanu right at the beginning of the game. And Taylor Powell said took a shot on the head and left this game early as well. A very difficult night for the Hamilton Tiger Cats, and certainly not made any easier by the way this game went. Harrison Frost, well, he's got something going with Shamar Bridges, or a touchdown to him a little bit earlier, and they're finishing up this game, playing a little pitch and catch right now.
Yeah, it seems like regardless of who's been in at quarterback for Hamilton this season, they haven't had much trouble finding the 6'4" Shamar Bridges.
Well, the oddity about this matchup is these are two of the best passing offenses in the CFL statistically coming in, both of them just behind Montreal. There's Andy Leitred with a carry. But yeah, Montreal leads the way in passing yards per game and touchdowns too, and then the next two teams were Edmonton and Hamilton. So even though they had the two worst records coming in at 2-7, stats can be misleading, and their defenses had some problems too along the way.
I believe it was last week on a pregame show that Jim Barker was quoted as saying stats are for losers.
Well, there you go. And in this case,
our statistician John Perlberg is crushed right now, by the way. Take it up with Jim Barker.
Pearlie's a winner in our books always with the great stuff he provides us, John. But this game ends and goes Jarius Jackson's way, and just not Hamilton's night as they're hearing about it now. But yeah, that man, Larry Thompson, with the applause, and he's 1-0 as the owner of the Edmonton Elks, and some handshakes and hugs all around there. The Elks can celebrate their first 3-game winning streak since 2018.
Yeah, and huge for this team, finding a winning formula, developing some confidence, getting a little bit of momentum now going as they prepare for the second half of this Canadian football.